Yes, indeed. Took that a few minutes ago. That'll set the mood for you, all right. I would like to welcome WTSLAM in Lebanon, New Hampshire. Or is it New Hampshire? No, it's New Hampshire. Technically, it's probably New Hampshire, right? 1400 on the dial there. Yo to Sean Baker, the PD. Little do you know what you're in for, Sean. It's going to get a little rough. It always does on these nights. All we do is tell real ghost stories. And, you know, there are a few rules to what we're going to do tonight. Let me lay those down now, all right? Only serious, interesting, scary ghost stories need apply. They're all by phone. Unless you consider yourself to have, because there's as many of you out there as there are ghosts. And a million ghost stories in the night. So only the premium ghost stories need apply. I mean, they've got to be good. So that's rule 1. Rule 2 is, for God's sakes, turn down your radio. Okay? But that's always a rule. Then there's rules about, boy, we have a lot of rules, huh? Ghost photos. Yes, we will accept ghost photographs, as I think now we have I think we have the best collection of ghost photographs on the web. If not, then we're certainly getting close, to the best. And that's thanks to all of you. The same ones that are going to provide the quality ghost stories tonight, I would like to provide quality ghost photos as well. So only the good ghost photos need apply. Now, what does that mean? That means any obvious cigarette smoke ghost photos are out. They've got to be better than that. That means a ghost photo with a camera strap blurring the front doesn't count either. Occasionally we get the real last night, or the night before. That was the night before. Somebody led me to, I think it's the 5th page in the gallery. A ghost photos, a 5th page, I think. And there's this picture of this, God almighty, there's an arm coming right out of the television. And it looks, if it's a fake, it's a really, really, really good fake. If it's not a fake, it's everybody's nightmare. I mean, it's just everybody's nightmare. You look at that picture. Some caller led me there. And, I slowly, ploddingly made my way there on my own website, and I got to that one. And oh my God, look at that. I'd never seen it. I guess it's been up there for a while, but I hadn't seen that particular one. That's a real heart stopper. Absolutely no question about it. So, we want only quality ghost photos sent to webmaster@artbell.com. That's Keith. He is standing by to review and judge your photograph. And if it's up to par, if it's really scary, we're going to put it up tonight. In fact, we've already got new ghost photos up there for you right now. As the collection continues to grow, I mean, there is no doubt, there is simply no doubt in my mind about the fact that ghosts are real. They are. They're as real as we are. There may be questions about what a ghost is. Whether it's a human soul trapped here, surely sometimes it is, right? Human souls do apparently, for at least a period, if not longer, get trapped here on Earth. And then there may be the memory, the sort of, I don't even know what the right phrase would be. The memory, I don't know what it is that's left of a person when their soul has departed. But something that seems to stick around. Maybe that means we have more components than we thought we had. I mean, soul goes this way. The lingering memory of the person goes that way. I don't know. Have you ever thought about that? We may have more components than you thought. Oh, this is really good for any program you do up here. This way of coming back into the show. It's good for any program you do. All right, so you know what we're going to do tonight? It's going to be ghosts all night long. Shall we experiment? You always got to get warmed up in this biz, so let's see. All we're taking are ghost stories tonight. That's it. Got one to tell? Good one? Fine. All other matters are verboten. East of the Rockies, you're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning, Art.
Hi.
Calling from Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada.
Canada, yes, sir.
See you on CJOB here.
Right.
Anyways, I don't know if I met a ghost or a time traveler, but this is one freaky tale, let me tell you.
Well, just sort of lay it out for me real quickly if you can, and I'll try and make a judgment.
Every summer I go and I live in a tent in a campground. One night I'm sitting there listening to a football game. This guy rides up in an old Indian motorcycle.
Mm-hmm.
He had skin that looked like leather. He had Texas plates on his bike.
Yeah, a lot of them in Texas look like that.
He had 2 stickers on the fender skirts. One said America, land of the free, as long as you do what you're told. The other one had a picture of Mount Rushmore and a picture of Reagan smiling with a tooth that was sparkling. And it said, don't believe any of them. Anyways, we're sitting there talking. I gave the guy supper.
If you're going to give me this kind of detail all the way through, we don't have enough show to do this.
Okay, anyways, we get talking and comparing countries, this and that. Told me that they never really did land on the moon.
Americans never landed on the moon.
He said that.
Uh-huh.
He said not only that, he said Apollo 13 didn't happen the way it said. There was no accident in space. I asked them why this would happen. They said, he said the country's morale was down, Vietnam War. He said, if you look at when they came back to the planet, the whole world stopped, sat on their seat, on the edge of their seat, and held their breath.
Mm-hmm.
He said they done it for financing, and they done it for the morale of the country. Anyways, he went on and on. I asked him what he done. He told me he was a history teacher, and he kind of grinned and gave a belly laugh. He started telling me all these tales. And sometime I got up, I went to use the outhouse that was about 200 feet from my tent. I came back, he was gone. I never heard the bike. I asked my neighbor beside me. He never seen the guy all night. Nobody in the campground seen this guy.
So you think that he was the ghost of America? Really?
I don't know if he was
teaching you history the way it really was versus the present matrix that we all live in, right?
I don't know if he was a ghost or a time traveler or what he was.
Yeah, say it's close enough. I'll accept that. That's a fair medium call. Ghost or time traveler, who knows? Matrix traveler, how about that? West of the Rockies, you're on the air. Good morning.
Yes, man. Oh, man, I'm glad I made it there. Yeah, I'd like to speak to Mr. Art Bell.
This is Mr. Art Bell.
Hi, sir. How are you?
What can I do for you? Do you have a ghost story?
Yes, I do. I guess it was back in 93. I was in a 7-Eleven. There was just 3 people in the 7-Eleven store, me and 2 people. 2 people came in front of me, and they were going through the yard, where the milk and the soda pops are.
Yes.
And,
generally, yes. Up against the wall, usually.
Well, anyway, these 2 people looked they were dressed in rag clothes. And they were just a few feet in front of me. And all of a sudden, I heard this voice out of nowhere. It says, only fools pay. And I was just looking around, and there was nobody there that said that. And
maybe it was a voice in your own head.
Yeah, only fools pay.
Right. It was only fools pay, trying to talk you into copping a soda pop or God knows what else. See, could have been your own inner voice tempting you. The little guy that sits over on the... Does he sit on the bad one, sit on the right or the left? And there's a good one. But the good one doesn't get to speak up that much. That sounds like the bad one.
Only fools pay in 7-Eleven. Take it, bud, and run.
First-time caller line, you're on the air. Hello.
Hello, Mr. Art. This is Frank. I'm calling from Orlando, and I'm listening to you on the internet.
Yes, Frank.
This is quite a few years ago. I was actually pretty young, about 6 years old, 6 or 7. I lived in Long Island at the time, and I had an appearance of some type of apparition in my bedroom window. Stays with me today. I remember it as just like it happened yesterday.
What do you remember it looked like?
It was a definite female, a woman that appeared to be in her 30s. I remember that it was generally all one color, like a greenish or grayish color. And the best description that I can give of her, I could actually see an emotion on her face. It appeared that she looked at me with compassion. If I was to see it today, I wouldn't be frightened. But then I ran out of my room screaming. And I never told anybody about this until about the age of 25. I was mentioning it to my sister. At that point, she told me that she had also seen the same thing in our house.
Oh, no kidding. So
No kidding.
whatever it was then was in the area of your house, and not just visiting you in particular, but...
I would imagine, it was not something that I saw all the time. It was just a one-time deal. My parents never mentioned anything of it, but we did move out of that house about a year afterwards, and the people who purchased the house from us moved out about 2 months afterwards. Now, I don't know if that's related or not.
I don't suppose when you sold that house that you disclosed to this happy little honeymooning couple that was going to get it next, that there was an entity in there that would tend to show up by your bed in your window at night?
Well, at the time, I wasn't old enough to have that kind of contact to give that information, but...
You mean you didn't say, Mommy, Daddy,
no.
You've got to tell them?
Well, actually, I have a grandmother who was babysitting that evening, and she does remember me running out of my room screaming. But,
oh, yeah. All right. I appreciate your call, sir. Thank you, and take care. Yes? An entity. Well, what do we know about this? We know that ghosts, particularly those produced by suicides, especially suicides, and that is worrisome, seem to hang around the place where they committed suicide, where they took their own life. So I suppose, had you had a chance to, check into it a little bit, you might have found that somebody may have done themselves in on that property somewhere. These days, you've got to disclose that kind of thing when you sell a house. But you and I all know, we both know, don't we, that you would never disclose that, would you? And, oh, by the way, you're buying an entity as well. It's in the house here. No? You're not likely to say that, are you? So, I wonder how frequently such a thing is invoked. I suppose when there's an official prior history of haunting. Now, how would you establish that? Well, newspaper articles, perhaps? I can see an attorney using that. You see, there was publicity about this house. Everybody knows there was something wrong, very, very wrong in this house. A newspaper story like that. So who would want to have one about their house, right? Nobody. Well, then you couldn't sell it without disclosing what was really going on inside. I'm Art Bell. I have a way of knowing things. And I know this. If you have a really good ghost story, and you don't try to get through tonight, something really awful is going to happen to you. This has burdened you long enough. This is your opportunity for release by telling your story. And if you don't, it's not my responsibility. You've been warned. On the first-time caller line, you're on the air.
How you doing, Art?
Well, so far so good.
Before I tell you, can I ask you a question?
Possibly.
Do you know what lineage the Vikings were?
No.
I don't either, so I guess it's not going to help. But anyway, I don't really believe in ghost art, but I do believe in demonic manifestations. I believe there's familiar spirits which pose as people that we've known, which are actually demonic manifestations.
That is a really conservative religious viewpoint, isn't it?
Right. And I believe there's non-specific demonic
And you believe everything that would be that explains the millions of stories we can get on this program and elsewhere, and photographs, all of it is explained by the devil.
Well, yes, because the Bible points it out about familiar spirits, and of course...
And so, all right, fine. We'll go with what you believe your category to be.
But that doesn't mean... But I also believe that it...
I'm not going to argue it with you. You believe it. I've no...
Right.
You know, fine, I believe it. Just tell me, have you had an encounter with an evil, demonic spirit?
Absolutely. But let me just say that I believe that they could be interdimensional beings, too. That doesn't... because that's separate entities.
So you're a little open-minded.
Yeah, sure.
Right.
Sure.
Go ahead, tell your story.
Now, this comes with a parallel, too. Me and a friend both had this same experience at different times. It's pretty wild. Not only did we have the same experience, we had been friends for several years, and then all of a sudden we found out, while he was retracing his roots, that we had the same grandfather in Ireland, the same great-great-great-great-grandfather in Ireland, which was very weird because we're both from different areas of the country, and we met each other through work. But anyway... what happened one night is, I'll get right to the story, I woke up, and what I saw was really, really scary. There was a big entity in my room at the foot of my bed, and it was huge, and it had horns, great, huge horns on its head. And I'll get to the clincher of this in a minute. But it had great horns on its head, and it had red eyes, bright red eyes, and it was just standing there in my doorway.
Heat red eyes. Heat red eyes.
Right. Well, what I did is I said, of course, and I'm not really. I believe in the Bible and I believe in Christianity, but I'm not a big practicing Christian. But nevertheless, I said, in the name of Jesus, be gone. And the entity walked back through the door and faded away.
All right. You know, and I've heard this a million times.
Well, here's the big...
I'm sorry. There's more?
Oh, it's much more to this.
I was just going to say, though, and this will argue a little bit with your belief system, I know, but you might as well have said, in the name of Art Bell, the paranormal talk show host, be gone.
Well, that might have scared him, too.
It might have, and it certainly would have told us a lot. Now, somebody out there should try. Now, I'm not going to be responsible for any lawsuit, for any bloody popes just sort of lingering and soaking into the bed that are left after this is tried.
But there's a great other part of this story, though.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Me and my friend, we practice coffee drinking at restaurants late at night and talking about things, including your show.
Yeah.
We like to talk about your show over coffee. But anyway, I told him about that experience one night. I told him, and he says, well, I had the same experience, the same thing.
Yeah.
And I said, did it have horns on its head? He said, yeah, and I said, something similar to you said, and it backed down the hallway. I didn't tell him one point of this. I said, well, tell me what it looked like. He said, well, the horns weren't really horns. It was like a Viking cap. Mm-hmm. And I looked at my friend and said, I did not tell you this part about it.
Yeah, the lineage.
But that's what it was. It was a Viking cap. I didn't tell him that, but we both had the same experiences. He both said something similar, and his, instead of, just out of the room, his was in the hallway, and it walked down the hallway and disappeared. But it was like a huge Viking.
I'm with you all the way, and I can't think of anything that I would less like to see than something with glowing red eyes. That creeps me out. That always creeps me out. Glowing red eyes, I know, are bad. Very bad. No matter what other form the creature has, the glowing red eyes, oh, they're very bad. And by the way, just so there's no mistake about it, if I ever encountered one of these things and I had to invoke a name to get it gone, you can bet your bottom dollar it wouldn't be my name. You all want to try that? You go right ahead. Wildcard line, you're on the air. Hello.
Hello, Art.
Hi.
This is Robert, a KFI in Los Angeles.
Yes, sir, the mighty KFI.
I have been haunted by the ghost of a dead cheerleader.
Whoa. Not as bad as a lot I hear about, sir.
Oh, yes. She died quite recently. She was murdered by a photographer, and the photographer was sentenced and convicted for murdering her.
Yes.
You remember this story?
No, but well, let's see, do I? I do remember. Well, anyway, it's not important. Go right ahead.
All right.
Dead
well,
cheerleader.
you see, I had met her 5 years previously, but I was haunted by her in 1973 when I was in the Air Force. I would be in formation. There'd be several thousand of us in formation going to tech school, and all of a sudden, the entire formation was called to a halt while all the big NCOs and officers came up to look at me, and I'm standing there wearing a cute little cheerleader outfit with pom-poms in my hand, and my airman behind me is rubbing my behind. And after that, my life was a living heck, and I couldn't understand it. Anyway.
Well, I remember boot camp real well. And people like you, if you were really in that outfit, you know, it's like you went home the next day. That was a ticket home. So there can't possibly be more to this story.
Oh, there's funny.
Well, there can't be, except to say that in boot camp, a lot of us in our mind's eye saw cheerleaders.
Mm-hmm.
Every day, in fact.
Uh-huh. Well, everybody saw one.
And there wasn't a woman around to be seen.
Anyways, my former commanding officer was Brigadier General Chuck Yeager. Shortly after that, he came down to interview me.
Why?
Because my commanding officer was friends with Yeager, and Yeager came to interview because he heard about it. This is about the time of the comet. This is about time of the comet in 1973, and about the time Colonel Fox of
It never got that weird, sir. Never. Chuck Yeager had a lot of things to do with his time, but interviewing people who had donned cheerleading uniforms in basic training while getting fondled, that would not have been high on his list. I don't buy it, Monk. East of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hello.
It's Bill.
Yep.
Oh, sorry about that. It's a little slow on the trigger here. I'm not a Canadian, so... I really enjoy it. It must be Air Force night tonight. I'm retired Air Force.
Are you?
I was stationed at F.E. Warren Air Force Base the last few months I was in. And since I went retired on active duty, they gave me a position babysitting in the dormitories. The buildings at F.E. Warren are extremely old. They're from about after the Civil War. And I worked very late at night.
That really is old.
Quite a nice base. But as I was sitting there, must have been about 3 in the morning, I had a Buffalo soldier report in. And
a Buffalo soldier?
Yeah, full regalia, buckskins, the hat, the pistols. Just terrified me.
You mean just came right up to you?
He came into my office, didn't
full form, not wispy or anything like a ghost, but just solid human?
No, he was solid to me, and then he left. He just disappeared. Vaporized, I guess, would be the best word for it.
In front of your eyes?
In front of my eyes. About 5 minutes after, everybody in the dormitory knew I'd seen him, because it did scare me.
Well, there are two types after an experience like that. One is, like you, can't keep your mouth shut, going to have to tell everybody in sight just to feel better about it. And the other is, I'm never telling anybody about this. I'm going to go have a little nap, and I'm going to see if I feel better.
Well, I lived across the field from General Blackjack's old house, Blackjack Pershik.
Yes.
And there were reports of lights and stuff in that building, his old house. And I had never believed anything until that soldier reported to me. And that was amazing.
Here's something that I've thought an awful lot about, and that is battlefields. I, too, was in the Air Force to pile on here, and during Vietnam, and a lot of people died, and, you know, there are a lot of ghosts on battlefields, and I've been, if a ghost is really a human soul still here on Earth, then there would be, in my mind, zero righteousness in the world and a very unfair God to take any soldier who had died in defense of his country and keep him trapped, keep his soul trapped on Earth.
Yes.
How ultimately unfair would that be?
That would be a terrible, terrible afterlife.
Yeah, exactly right. Thank you very much. Terrible indeed. So, why then are battlefields littered with ghosts? Hmm? What sort of God would allow that to occur? And the only answer you can really hope for here is that indeed it is not the soul, but some other component of what's left of you when your body is gone. West of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hello.
Hi, Art.
Hi.
This is Anita from Harrisburg, Oregon.
Hi there, Anita.
Hi. I have a kind of a freaky story to tell that happened to me. Actually, we've had several things happen to us in this house. And anyway, my husband and I had just watched a movie. It was the Amityville Horror. And we're getting ready for bed and went and got in. And I started getting this really icky feeling like something evil was in the room with me.
Yep.
And my husband had gone to sleep, and we had our 1-year-old son in the same room, and he started fussing and wouldn't settle down. And I was starting to doze off. Every time I doze off, I jump awake, like something kept bothering me, or and I had this real evil feeling. And about 3 o'clock in the morning, I had dozed off, and I jumped awake again because it felt like something had taken a finger and run across my feet at the end of the bed, and I heard a hiss. It was a hiss.
And you don't have cats?
No, we didn't have any cats.
Hisses are really bad.
Yeah, but I had the light on all night. I was laying there on my back, so I could see all around the sides of me, and anyway, I was so scared. I didn't know what to do, so I said, just said a quick prayer, and that feeling went away. And we finally,
and son, whatever it was, went away.
Yeah, it did. And my son settled down, and I settled down, and we slept the rest of the night. And
well, I guess we've got to ask: is that really the power of God? Is the prayer the invocation of the Lord's name?
Yeah, but
if Jesus does that really drive these things away, or is it just the command, your mental command to be gone?
Yeah, but before that, my husband had seen a big figure in our doorway of the bedroom. He just saw the form of it. And this was like probably a couple months before my experience. And then it went away. And then a couple nights later, he woke up and it was right in his face. And he goes, "What do you want?" And it says, "I want you." And he just laid there. He was just frozen. And then I woke up too, and he was just drenched in sweat.
My God, you mean you both saw him, or you when you awoke, you saw him drenched in sweat, huh?
Yeah, he was all freaked out, and
I that's interesting because I've never heard of anybody coming back from "I want you."
Yeah, I know. Well, when we moved into this house, we had to clean it out, and upstairs there were stacks and stacks of witchcraft books, and we kind of think that has something to do with it.
Do you know anything about the former tenants?
Not really. Just as they weren't very clean. We had to clean up the whole house.
And they obviously had a big interest in witchcraft.
Oh yeah, a big interest. And even my kids, when they were little, they slept up in that room where we cleaned the books out of. And my oldest son said he would see, he described them as white ladies dancing in the closet. And he said that they made kind of a growling sound.
Growling?
Yeah. Yeah. So we've had a lot of weird stuff happen here. But
that's another thing that would be really upsetting to me, would be a female growling.
Yeah. Yeah. And my older daughter had seen him too at the same time. So I knew that they, and they were totally serious.
That's even more serious. When you have like two witnesses, two family members who see the same thing at the same time, if that really happens, time to move out.
Well, actually, we had a house fire, and it burned the whole upstairs.
You're kidding. Did it really?
Yeah, and so my husband remodeled the whole house, and we tore the whole top of the house off completely. And ever since then, we have not had anything happen here in this house.
Well, I wonder, but what does that say?
I don't know. I don't know. That's really, that's another thing I found really strange because, after the house fire, we rebuild the house and then nothing happens again.
So you burned the ghost out, or the ghost burned itself out. And what caused the fire? Do you know?
Well, they think it was an extension cord,
Oh, yeah,
but they're
yeah.
not sure.
Yeah,
You know,
that's almost as good as swamp gas for
because
UFOs.
this house was built in 1940, so lots of things could have happened here.
But see, that sort of seems to say that whatever it was locked into that physical place, that physical building.
Uh-huh.
And so what in the world do you suppose happened to it when it burned?
I don't know. That's what I've always wondered. That had me puzzled because, we were having so many weird things happen here, and then all of a sudden, it's gone.
Well, a lot of people in the audience scoff at this kind of thing, and they say, baloney. Stories, made-up stories. Not made up, is it?
No, none of it.
I appreciate your call.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Take care. No, not made up. Unfortunately, these things are real. I wish that we understood more about them. And try as we might, it seems nearly impossible to achieve that. Once again, you might take a glance at my webcam photo tonight when you get a chance. It was my in the mood photo. Well, let's see what lurks upon the wildcard line. You're on the air. Hi.
Hi. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. Extinguish your radio.
I did.
Do you have a ghost story for us?
I certainly do, sir.
Let her rip.
Okay. So, I was in my house in Plymouth, New Hampshire, where I actually rented the apartment above an accounting office. And one night at about 10 o'clock at night, all of a sudden I heard some loud noise, which sounded like somebody was down there slamming one of the doors. Then I heard what sounded like somebody going into a file cabinet and just ripping through the files, like you could just hear papers flying through.
Yep.
And then, and I was scared. I said, well, I yelled down to it. I said, who's down there? And I said, I have a gun up here. And no response, just started tearing through them even more. So I went and I called the local police. They showed up in 3 minutes. The noise stopped pretty much right as they showed up. I went out and, greeted them, and they were like, well, what's going on? And they went and they checked all the doors to make sure nobody had broken in. And then sure enough, they said, oh, there's nobody in there. They shine their lights in there, whatever, and they left. Well, the next morning, or later that night, I heard nothing more. But then the next morning, the accountant came in and said, I went down there and said to her, this was my landlord. I said, I thought, I have to tell you, I called the police last night. I thought someone had broken in and been going through your files. She was like, well, nothing's out of order. And she's like, that's really weird because I couldn't tell. It felt like somebody was holding the door when I tried to come in this morning.
Oh, really?
Is this our bell?
Yeah, of course it is, yes.
Yes, okay. Well,
like somebody was holding the door and she couldn't get in?
Yes, sir.
While all this was obviously going on, huh?
Yes, and then she went around the front, unlocked it, and went in, and went back to that back door, and that door was unlocked, and no one was there. And I was looking out every window in that house to make sure that nobody came running out of there because it is a college town.
I've got to go at that point. Thank you. This is Ghost to Ghost AM. West of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hello.
Hello there.
Hi.
Glad to have you back, Art.
Thank you.
My name is Andrew. I'm in Castro Valley, California.
Oh, yes.
Listen, I have a story that took place in 1980. I was a sophomore in high school. I don't know if you know where the town of Auburn, California is.
I do indeed. Oh, yes.
Well, I went to high school in Auburn there. The high school was previously a university that my father attended. Just about a half a mile away, there was the Auburn Courthouse. Very famous building. Huge, and it had been abandoned for at least 40 years. Right after the war, they stopped using it and moved the courthouses to a more modern building. And I was an aspiring filmmaker in those days in high school, and so I managed to get permission from the county clerk to go in and do an amateur film in there, and I got the keys, and I went into the place with 2 or 3 friends of mine.
This was going to be what? Just some historical film?
No, this was just going to be kind of kind of a romp, kind of a fantasy little thing. I didn't quite have it worked out. We were kind of winging it as far as the film goes.
Yeah.
But it was just an interesting background once I got in there. I had no idea what I was in for, as far as the story goes, and the architecture, too, was pretty amazing. We got inside the place. If you can imagine, just a huge box, basically, made of stone, 3 stories high, and then on top of that was a giant rotund, much like a Capitol building rotund.
Oh, yes.
And on top of that was a little miniature rotund where you could get up, kind of the crow's nest.
No, I can picture it. I've seen the buildings.
Okay. Well, we got in there, and the whole downstairs was all marble. I think it had been redone in the 20s in kind of Art Deco style. And there was dust and cobwebs everywhere. And we started setting up our equipment and looking around, and mostly we were using the film as an excuse to goof off, because it was just such a tremendously interesting playground, and to have the keys to this place, I felt like I was getting away with something. But we started hearing banging noises coming from the upper floors. And we hadn't been up there yet, so we didn't know if anyone was in the building or not. And so we went up and checked it out. 2 of us did, and we had our girlfriends there. They stayed downstairs. They didn't want to go up. And there was no one there. So we came back down. We looked in all the courtrooms. And believe me, the courtrooms were lavish, dark, varnished wood.
Oh, even modern courtrooms are that way, and all through the South they stay that way. I mean, they're really old, as you point out, heavy wood, carved wood. You really have the feeling of old, sure.
Oh, yeah, it was beautiful. And in the downstairs, there were safes. There were these enormous safes with brass and steel and iron, and they were just open, several of them. And so we filmed some footage down there, and this banging continued. And so then after having found out that no one was in the building, the banging persisted, and we started really getting nervous. And yet at the same time, we were intrigued. We wanted to see something almost, we wanted to go up and have some experience, I guess, at that age. And so we kind of sneaked up there and looked around, and there was, again, no one there, nothing there. The electricity was on, so we could work the lights. And we came back downstairs, and I noticed that all my papers, my script in my little folder, was not on the bench where I left it. And I was looking around for it. Maybe I left it over where the safes are or somewhere else. And so I searched for it, couldn't find it, and then went back upstairs carrying all the equipment with us, and I noticed that, of all things, my camera strap was gone. Someone had actually taken the camera strap, unsnapped it off the camera, the movie camera, and it was missing.
Yes.
So we carried everything up into this gigantic courtroom, and lo and behold, on top of the bench, on top of the judge's table or desk, there was my book and the camera strap neatly folded across it. And, there was only 4 of us. The girls were really reluctant to come upstairs at all. And so there was me and my friend, and I would have noticed if either of us had been carrying the book or the camera strap. And I went back down and asked the girls, how did the camera strap get off of the camera? And they said, oh, we don't know. We've just been sitting here the whole time. They were down there, having sodas and eating food or whatever. And so I'm like, okay. So we went back upstairs, and we had turned off all the lights because we wanted to see if we could do filming in the dark, with the present light coming in through the windows.
Only the young and stupid.
Well,
I mean, after all this, you're turning off the lights. All right, go ahead.
Okay, so we go back upstairs, and the light in the one courtroom is on. Now, I didn't think anything of it because, who knows, my friend could have gone back up there and turned it on, whatever.
Sure.
So we're in the courtroom, the light is on, I'm filming a little footage, and then the banging happens again. So all of us go downstairs, And the girls want to leave. They don't want any part of it now. They're scared because we've already told them there's no one here.
Proving again, girls are smarter than boys.
pretty much true. And but you know, adventure kicks in, and so we really wanted to know what was happening.
What you call adventure is actually
stupidity.
Stupidity and youthful testosterone running out of control. Anyway, so fine, you go.
Well, the girls decided to go, and it was, you know, the lunch hour that we had, and that was pretty much over. So, being studious individuals, they went back to school, and we stayed there, of course. And on the downstairs floor, there were cells, holding cells. Made of.
That's right. There would be cells, wouldn't there, in a old courthouse?
Well, there sure were, and a couple of them had doors at both ends. They were like long, narrow cells with a door at one end, iron bar grates, and a door at the other end. Well, we went inside one of these cells, made sure that it couldn't lock. There was no lock on it, and the other end was wide open. We walked in. The door behind us slammed shut. For no apparent reason. And so our instant reaction was to run like the dickens and go out the other end.
Yep.
Before it slammed shut. I mean, we were terrified at that point.
And so you made a dash for the other side.
We made a dash for the other side. We got out and entered into a different part of the courthouse, circled back around to where we'd started, and it was open, as if it had never happened.
So let me guess, you went back in.
Well, no, we didn't go back into the cell. At this point, it had become like a game. You know, we were just waiting to see what the next thing was that was going to happen. And we couldn't let it go. I mean, we weren't seeing anything. We weren't hearing voices or anything. We were just convinced that somebody's playing with us.
Yeah, well, these kind of games in the movies end up with dismembered bodies. Anyway, anything else?
Well, there was one final punctuation that made us all never go back. And that happened right outside the building in broad daylight, probably 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Up on top of the building, there were 4 statues. And they were the typical statue of justice, holding the scales and the sword.
Gotcha.
Except they weren't blindfolded. They just had their eyes closed.
Right.
4 women on the cardinal points of the compass on top. We were approaching the building. Just the 2 of us, my friend Aaron and myself. We looked up. We were just about to go in the front door. I had the keys in my hand. We looked up at the statue, and her eyes were open. And then they closed.
And they closed while you watched?
They closed while we watched. And we looked at each other, and we literally did a double take. We looked back up at the statue because we both recognized that we both had seen it. And we looked back up, and our eyes were shut. And that was it. We turned around and went right back to school.
The first smart move you made. That's some story, all right. Thank you very much.
Okay, all right.
Take care. Yeah, you know, when you look up at a statue and the eye opens and then closes, it's really time to go. I bought the whole thing, and the only thing that could have caused me to reject that entire story would be if they'd have, climbed up to investigate the statue or gone in the house. That would have been too much for me, but I'll buy what he gave. That wasn't bad. First time caller line, you're on the air. Hello.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello, are you talking to me?
Yes, I'm talking to you.
Oh, there you go.
Where are you?
I'm on Long Island.
All right.
New York. This is Russ. This is my first time call. And I have something that happened to me when I was 4. I'm 47 now.
Okay.
And what happened was I was running around the house after my sister. My sister was 8. I was 4. And I couldn't catch up to her. And she ran down the basement stairs. I ran down there after her. And she's running around the basement, and she's laughing, and I'm trying to catch up to her. And as I was trying to get her, I saw the basement door open. And so I said, "Oh, the heck with it," and I ran up the basement steps to go outside. And when I got to the top of the steps, I noticed my sister was in the backyard playing. And I looked down the stairs, and I said, "Well, if she's out there playing, then who's laughing downstairs?" But, at 4 years old, who really, thinks of anything scary? So,
Yeah, of course not. You don't.
So then I just went outside, and I continued to play.
That was the first thing that happened. Then as I got older, my father would yell up the stairs at me and wake me up around 2 o'clock in the morning and say, "What are you doing up there? Get to sleep." So I said, "You just woke me up." So
So something was going on around
he
you.
said he heard walking around. He says, "You're walking around up there." I said, "I'm not walking around." I said, "You just woke me up." So now years go by, and I'm in the kitchen, and he's in bed sleeping, and my brother is upstairs sleeping now in that room, and and I heard walking around, and I went by the stairs, and I says, "Jimmy, what are you doing? Walking on? What are you doing?" You know, so I went upstairs, and my brother was sound asleep. So I got a chill went up my back, and I says, "Geez, this is what my father's been hearing all these years, you know?"
There you are.
And so that's been going on for, you know, that happened. That went on for quite a few years.
Have you ever seen anything?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Scared the hell out of me too. I was I was around 15, I would think, and we had a whole we had company over the house. It was a party for some reason. I don't know what it was, but anyway, there was a lot of people in the house. And I was coming out of the bathroom, and directly across from the bathroom is my mother's bedroom, you know, my parents' bedroom. And so as I opened the door to come out, I saw a woman standing in the bedroom at the edge of the bed in a long white gown. I couldn't make the face out, but she was, it was just beautiful. That's all I can remember. It was just beautiful. And I went into the kitchen and I said to my mother, I says, "Who's the lady inside in the bedroom with a long white gown on?"
This sometimes could be a really bad thing to go tell Mom.
Well, she said,
anyway.
Yeah, well, she said, I know what you're saying, the bride and all that stuff, but no, yeah, she says, "No, there's nobody here, and there's no one in the house with a long white gown on." So I says, "I'm telling you, there's someone in your bedroom there. She's standing there at the edge of the bed, and she's looking out towards the hallway." And so we went in there, and of course there was nobody in there. And from that point, whenever I went past her door, I would never look in. Thank you. But you know, because I did not want to see that woman again. Then there was one time where I came home from work pretty late, and I walked in the house, and it was dark, and I said, "Ma," I said, "You home?" Because I heard the TV on in the den, and she always kept the lights out. She just kept the den lights on, and
sure,
you know, with the TV on. So she goes, "I'm home." So I said, "Okay." I walked inside, and I walked in the den, and there was no damn TV on, and there was nobody home. So I flew out the door. I mean, I got these chills that went crazy. I just like shot out that door. Then I was sleeping. And I woke up.
We don't have a lot of time now, so.
Okay. All right. I was sleeping in my room, and the whole light was on. This is when I was just a kid, and I looked over towards the doorway, and there were two dark figures standing out my doorway. I don't know what they were, but they had these, like, they were shadows, and they had hats on, and they were about, I would say, about 3 feet tall.
Oh, we know what they are.
And
we know what they are.
Yeah, well, I'm going to tell you something, Art. They were standing outside my door, and then I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I said, "I'm fully awake here." I was rubbing my eyes. I said, "What the heck is that?" And I looked over again, and now they were in the door. They were about a foot inside the door. So I just laid down straight. I could not believe what I was seeing. I just wouldn't, I just would not believe that there was something in the room. And with that, something grabbed my feet, and I shot up through the covers, and I went for the light, and I put it on, and there was nothing in the room.
Yeah,
so
physically grabbing your feet.
Something grabbed my...
Now, that would scare the hell out of you. I agree with you. Thank you very much. Bad enough to see things, hear things, walking about, and then see things. But the line is drawn at the grabbing of the feet. If something physically yanks on you, that means it's strong enough to have manifested itself physically in this world, and if it wants you, it's going to have you. East of the Rockies, you're on the air.
Hello, Art?
Yes.
Hi. I'm from Indiana. I'm private in the U.S. Military Army.
Oh?
And my sister had a story quite like the females before. But, I had just a little bit to add to that myself because I had one of the experiences somewhat in the same time. And we were young, living in a Army base out in Fort Meade, Maryland. And my sister was up all night frequently, and she was always scared, and she was always running to the bathroom, and we just thought she was having bad dreams. Well, what the young lady had described earlier was exactly what my sister was talking to us about and still continues to talk to us to this day. Something was literally scratching at her feet and grabbing at her feet, and she would run into the bathroom, shut the door, and just cry her eyes out. Now, during that time, I was also having things waking me up by breathing up in my face, and it would scare me so much that it would wake me up.
Right in your face?
Right in my face, and it just scared me completely, and Mom did not know what was going on with her kids. Now, at one time, I had felt something actually grab me, and I thought I was sleeping. I thought it was a dream, and to this day, it still feels like a dream, but I don't know. You tell me. But it almost felt like I was lifting up out of my bed and floating down the hallway, but it still, to me, it seems like a dream. But
might have been an out-of-body, but when things physically grab at you, it's getting real serious, because if they want you, they got you.
Art, cheers. How you doing?
I'm doing okay.
I'm calling you from San Diego, listening to you on KOGO.
That'd be the one.
Yeah, Padres won tonight. Go Padres. But, I'm JD, and I talked to you one time before, I think. I'm the guy with, I'm really into the Somewhere in Time thing, too. I'm trying to bring it to stage, but before I get into the ghost story...
now you gotta go right to the ghost story.
Well, this has to do with the ghost, because did you know Somewhere in Time was really not that Mackinac Hotel?
Yes, it was actually down near you.
Yeah,
yes, I know all about that.
And that's a haunted hotel. They have a room shut down, but that's not my story. I am from Hollywood originally, and when I was about 20, I'm 34 now. A girlfriend of mine had a very successful father who bought a mansion up in the Hollywood Hills, and it had been empty for about, 8 to 10 years or so, whatever. And the first night he bought it, he was very excited. He told his daughter, and we went to go check it out, and it had a pool. And I'm a swimmer guy, from Hollywood. Sure. Anyway, it was a really creepy pool because all the plants and everything had kind of overgrown, and it was a black bottom pool. But it was nighttime, and I took a dive in, and I'm a great swimmer. It was a hot summer night. It was in August.
Young and stupid, and in Hollywood.
Yeah, I was. And it gets worse. But so I dive in, and when I was under the water, I just got this panic feeling that something was wrong. And I got up and I got right out of the pool, and I said, something's weird about that pool. So time passes. The gentleman whose house it was moved in, and he went away. He's got schools in London and Hollywood and New York. So he went away, and he didn't like me seeing his daughter. So I was not allowed at the house anyway, he was in London for 2 weeks, supposedly. So I went over.
Good time to see daughter.
Yeah, so I went over, and I brought my Ouija board, which I'd been messing around with.
Great idea.
I know. So we Ouija'd there, and we got a hold of, and I'd been familiar with it. She wasn't that familiar, and she thought it was being pushed, but it was these two little boys called Seth and Steve.
You mean that we're giving you messages on the Ouija board?
Yeah, for real.
Now, let me guess. The Ouija board probably said,
"Come on in, the water is great."
No, that was Art Bell on East and West of the Rockies. No, they were 4 years old and 7. And the 4-year-old absolutely despised me. He didn't even know how to spell. He knew how to say like a few curse words.
I got you.
But anyway, moving on. This 4-year-old, I mean, really despised, and my, hair was standing up on my arms. I was like, I don't like this. It's weird. So there were these two boys, and the older one, who was 7 years old, explained that when somebody lived there about 12 years ago, they were not supposed to be hanging out there, but there was a very high wall on the other side of the pool. And they went, and the little 4-year-old fell, and the 7-year-old jumped in to save him, and the 4-year-old dragged him under. They both drowned. So they told us this on the Ouija board. So the next day, the girl's sister came over to the house to hang out by the pool, and we were all out by the pool. She wasn't going to tell her dad either. And she said, "Hey, Amy, did you know that 2 little boys drowned in this pool? And that's why it stood vacant for so long." And we looked at each other. We didn't tell her. So then here, I've never broken a bone in my body ever, once, and I still haven't to this day. But the dad, all of a sudden, the next day, comes home from his, London trip 13 days early. It's like he went there and turned around. Yeah. And he shows up and found me there, and we were up in his master bedroom, just, it was not pretty. Anyway, threw me out, but I was going out, and I ran out the back, and I was like in underwear and a t-shirt, and I went, "Oh, no, the Ouija board, if he finds the Ouija board." It was under the bed, so I ran back up, and I got the Ouija board, and as I was running out, something tripped me. I mean, there was nothing there. I was running down but I broke my foot, and I've never broken anything, but I know that little brat, that little 4-year-old, had tripped me. I mean, it was a panic situation. No, this is really real. Anyway, yeah, well, it's ghost night, so hey, I listen to you every night. You're the best, Art.
All right, thank you.
All right, you have a good one.
Take care. That would be terrifying in more ways than one, wouldn't it? Really, really terrifying to be caught like that. Whether it was a ghost or daddy, both were no doubt life-threatening situations. First-time caller line, you're on the air. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello. Okay. Just wanted to say here, I currently live in a house that has a couple of things in it since we've lived here.
Now?
Yep, currently. Yep. It's always been here. House is about 20 years old, so it was built new. We moved in new. Nothing's ever happened, but something's always here.
What do you mean? What kind of something?
I guess it has to be spirits of some kind, because like we've seen things moving in the house. Everybody who is here, we've always seen something.
What do you mean moving?
Whether it's objects.
Moving in what way?
Like physically moving an object and playing games with it. Like.
Now, do you mean like sort of moving across a table? Do you mean something in the air? What do you mean?
Yep. Well, I've seen it myself move. I felt it, like when I, actually wake me up at nighttime. It's rather unusual. Like I've seen it move objects.
In what way?
Well, like just from side to side or up or down, and then it'll just drop it. It's actually taken objects, and then they've disappeared, and then they'll reappear like a few weeks later.
That sounds a lot like a poltergeist.
Lovely. Well, you know what else it's done? One time my brother, this was before he moved out, my older brother, he's reading a book, and all of a sudden he calls me upstairs, and he's like, "Matt," he's like, "something happened." I'm like, "Well, what do you mean?" I smelled this awful smell, and it started burning his hair.
What?
Like, seriously, went in the room, and you know that disgusting smell when hair's been burned?
I certainly do.
Yeah, well, that was the smell in the room, and I'm saying, "Well, what are you talking about?" He goes, "Well, I was reading my book, and all of a sudden my hair started catching on fire." So
that's a strong clue.
Yeah, it's a strong clue to move out.
You bet.
Yeah, and so it's always it's something
now,
every day.
Could you see anything? Was his hair singed?
Yeah, right at the top of it. Not a lot of it, but definitely enough to smell it. But I mean, that's just one thing. There's every night when I go to bed, it particularly likes picking on me, and it likes picking on my mom every single night. And
how can you handle that? I mean, how can you possibly handle that? How can you not move?
I haven't had a clue. Like, I've gone on on vacations, and this damn thing follows me. Like, I'm not joking. I could be in a hotel, and a day later on the trip, I'll just sense it in the room. I'm like, it's here again. It actually follows you around. I don't know how to explain it, but that's...
well, yeah, that's a fine way. You did fine. The question is, how can you stay there? I mean, how can you stay there even one more night?
Burning
hair, that's way over the limit for me.
I know. I'm here every night, and usually by myself, and yeah, I'm here right now by myself, and sure enough, 2, 3 in the morning, it starts up. I record music quite a bit for a living, and it seems to enjoy playing with my equipment, whether it be turns it off, turns it on, resets different banks in my synthesizers.
Well, it beats having your hair set on fire.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, I appreciate the call, sir. Thank you. That's not good. That's not good. I know the exact smell he's talking about, and I'm sure you do too. You've smelled burned hair, haven't you? It's awful. But to have your hair self-ignite, that's a really strong sign. Wildcard line, you're on the air.
Hi, Art. This is Andy from Largo, Florida.
Hello, Andy.
How are you tonight?
Fine.
Good. Got a story about a glowing tombstone. Up in Michigan, it's really good. Up in Michigan, you know, each town has their little local legends. There was this story about off at 100th Street out in Byron Center, there's this little cemetery, and they say, well, there's a glowing tombstone in it. And I remember in high school going out here, and yeah, you'd see it glowing through the years. It'd have vandals. One year, some kids took the stone. Well, the Post Farm family that maintains the yard replaced the headstone. And my friend Mark that still lives up there said every year, it's around Halloween, there's a big attraction, a big group of people that go out there. But anyway, it only glows during a full moon on a clear night. Sounds crazy. Well, I had vacation 3 years ago, and when I went up there,
wait a minute. Let me understand this. They replaced the headstone?
Mm-hmm.
Because it was glowing, because something was obviously really wrong. So they put a new headstone in, and it too glowed.
Right. Well,
at a full moon.
The reason they replaced the tombstone is because I guess some kids got in there and actually stole the stone.
I got you. All right.
Or whatever. Yeah.
But the new one glowed.
And the new one glowed too. Well, when I was like, oh please. Well, when I went up there on vacation, I looked up the Post Farm because I used to know the family, and most of the kids are all grown up and have their kids now. But Helen remembered me, and she talked to me for a little bit. It was nice talking to them, and I thought it was their mercury light or something reflecting, you know, because of everybody had cornfields out there. And the cemetery is so old. I mean, the headstone said 1843 to 1920.
Right.
So he'd be, 77 years old. Henrik Meyer, then the Meyer family from the Meyer farm. And she seemed a little stunned when I brought it up. But before I left, I took my my rental car out there one night, shut the engine off by myself, and I'm looking at this, and it happened to be a full moon, and it sure enough, the headstone's glowing. Well, there was an old man about 10 feet from the stone. I don't know what he was doing out there, but he was just standing there. Now, most people say, well, how do you know it just could have been somebody else? And not at 2:30 in the morning, because I'm a night owl. I'm up all night. Anyway, it was just really freaky. So I got in the car and took off and told Mark about it when I called him up a few days ago, and he says, oh yeah, they're very common. But in high school, I don't remember hearing about the old man walking around. So they can't explain it. And I guess through the years, even some students from Michigan State actually broke a small chunk off and had it studied. All it is just granite and, graphite or whatever.
Oh, well, yes. Though, I've seen a lot of movies, and in all the movies, college students who take chips of glowing tombstones die in puddles of mush.
Yeah, really. Hey, before you hang up, one more quick story that you'll appreciate. Remember you telling about the car that stops in the railroad tracks, and you can see like handprints on the back of it if you put powder on it?
In San Antonio, Texas, yeah.
Okay, well,
absolutely true.
Right, well, check this out. I'm a waiter in a restaurant, and a table I had the other night went to Clarksville, Tennessee for vacation, where his uncle lives. And the same story, same scenario and everything. And I said, oh, come on. He said, well, we had to spread some butter on the back of the bumper, the back, the part of the trunk, the bumper, just underneath it. And then they put some powder on it, so the powder would actually stick. Well, they say the same story. They never heard of the San Antonio incident. They never even heard of your show. And I'm thinking, they were telling me this, because I got family that was raised in, like, Old Hickory, Tennessee.
Well, I don't know. What did they do? Did they go to a railroad tracks?
There's a railroad track.
Park the car, and you're saying that it got pushed off and they had handprints on the car?
Exactly. And the road's not on an angle, and it was an old school bus in the 30s, and a bunch of kids were hit by a train. And as of today, I know enough about, engineering and stuff. Come on. Your car's not going to just start moving by itself. There's no way. The road's flat.
No, absolutely not.
The same San Antonio story. So what is it? But they actually saw the handprints. Well, his wife was just so freaked out about it. It bothers her today.
It would always bother me, and it still bothers me today. Why? Because of all those souls that you would not expect to remain on Earth, there would be the children, right? The innocents, the really young ones. If their lives were taken tragically by a train hitting a school bus, there's no way my mind can grasp the concept of a God that would allow their souls to remain, to push cars every now and then. It just doesn't add up. Either that or the nature of things is not as we would have it be in our world. Maybe there's nothing fair about death at all. I mean, has that ever occurred to you? Everybody thinks, well, death is going to be fair because God's fair and God's good and God wouldn't allow anything bad to happen to our souls, right? But maybe the truth is there's not anything. There's not a damn thing fair about death. Even the innocent children and the most innocent of adults, maybe there's nothing fair at all. That's something to think about. The dark of night, huh? East of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hello.
Hello, Mr. L.
Yes.
Hi, I'm really glad to have you back.
Thank you.
Okay, and before I get started, this is a good story about my brother. I wanted to shout out to everybody on FNet there in the Art Bell channel. This is the source, guys. I had just told him my story in there, and they said, you got to call her and tell him this. So,
all right, so you are.
Okay, my brother died a real violent death, and we were at his funeral, and he'd always told us that he'd believe in astral travel and out-of-body experience and practiced all that. And he told us he would find a way to tell us. So we're at the funeral home, and we're in a little room where there's a Coke machine and vending machines. And my brother Bill says, okay, Howard, if you're there, let us know. The lights in the room start flickering. The Coke machine flickers. It goes on about 5 or 6 minutes and stops. We talk to the guy who works there, and he says, that's never happened before. He's never had any kind of problems like that in the funeral home. So we were thinking, okay, that might be a coincidence. We're leaving after the funeral, and he had an old pickup truck that was rust bucket, and we had worked on this radio in it for a long time, over a year, trying to get it to work.
Right.
And he didn't want to buy a new one for it because it's an old work truck. And it never worked. We rewired it, put new speakers, tried to hook them up. As we pull out into the road from the funeral home, the radio comes on. It's ZZ Top. It's his favorite song. It plays the whole song, and then the radio goes off, and it's never played since.
Really?
And... yeah, that's
really. Oh, that's in the world of is it a sign or isn't it a sign? That is 100% sign.
Well, it gets better. The light flickering thing, it started becoming more and more persistent and really consistent in my life and my family's life. I moved into an apartment about a month later. The light across the street on the street light was flickering for about a week. Then it moved to the light on my side.
Yeah.
And a few days later, the light downstairs, and then the light above my apartment went to about a week. And my brother called my mother 1 minute after midnight on her birthday, all her life. To this date, this is the most convincing evidence. To this date, on her birthday, 1 minute after midnight or 2 minutes, her phone rings. When she answers this, it's a dial tone. And that still happens. had friends over on her birthday just to see it happen. Now we don't know if someone's pranking, but for the first couple of years.
I don't think so. That's a conscious thing, definitely.
But the light thing, it's to the point where my wife believes it now because we can be at the malls and it'll happen, and she'll go to work. She says it doesn't happen when I'm not around you. But when I'm around you.
Listen, I got to go.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Good night.
I absolutely felt this wonderful love come through me. And so we walked out of the graveyard. It was probably about 4:30, maybe 5 o'clock in the evening. And we walk into the yard, and I'm still feeling all of these. And my husband goes to take a picture, and I thought, oh, maybe they'll show up. So I asked St. Michael to allow them to show up and to show up in this particular photograph. And the odd thing is, they did, but I didn't tell my husband. We got the film back about a year later.
Why wouldn't you tell him?
I don't share stuff like that often because, I'm kind of like that a little bit.
Even with your husband?
No. But I did later because when we got the film back, we forgot to develop it.
Yes.
And I forgot all about it. So when we got the film back, there's this giant white glowing around me. And I had 2 St. Michael's medallions, one in each hand because I was going to give them as gifts to people, and I put one in each pocket. And my hands look like they're on fire. And this giant form is radiating above me, and you can see a face. Now, I have a friend who's a graphic artist, and she went looking for faces. And I said, I'm not going to tell you where the faces are. You tell me. So she went looking for faces, and she does layout for magazines. She's an editor. So she's got a very detailed eye. And she found another face, which is directly above the cross in the steeple of the mission of Santa Barbara, which looks a little bit like, the picture that you have on your web of Jesus at the Vatican. It looks a little bit like that.
Yeah.
And it was really overwhelming. And then I went and I showed this picture to a friend, and she said, I never believed you about your ghost until I went and visited a friend who went to Santa Barbara, and I walked through that graveyard. She said, I just had to get out of there. I was panicking.
Well, see, now, there's another aspect, thank you, of all this that bothers me. And that is graveyards. Again, I'm going to say this, and I don't know how you all want to be disposed of when your time on Earth is gone. But graveyards don't sound too good to me. I mean, in terms of where I think I would like to go when my time comes. I'm leaning toward the ash idea. This graveyard thing, I don't know. Don't want to think that there's any consciousness left, and if there is, that it's stuck anywhere near a graveyard, because that wouldn't be a good place to spend a lot of after time. We're going to have our, by the way, our electronic voice phenomena people on again soon. They record voices in graveyards. So you see what I mean? Think about your own final disposal. Do you really, really want to be down 6 for at least part of the day? East of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hi. Hello?
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Great. Hello, Art.
Where are you?
I'm in Oklahoma. Oklahoma City.
Oklahoma City. Yeah, all right.
Okay, I have this one for you. I was, this road that I'm referring to, that these 2 incidents happened on the same road in the same year.
What incidents?
Okay, one is on a school night back in high school. There was, I had a stepmother that I had to pay mileage on her car, to use her car to go somewhere. So that's what I was doing. On a school night, I went to a friend's house supposedly to study. And I went over and I picked up 2 girls. One was named Sue, and one was named Alexis. I hope they're listening tonight.
Hey, Sue and Alexis.
We were down this road in front of an elementary school, and we were driving, not very fast, it's like maybe 35, 40, and a man, an elderly man, and his dog, you could see, I mean, it looked just real as real can be.
Sure. Did what?
I hit him.
You hit them?
I hit the ghost. Now, if you can imagine, I have 2 teenage girls
Did
with
you
me.
did you feel a thump?
There wasn't time. I had 2 hysterical teenage girls screaming at the top of their lungs.
You have my sympathy on that, but I mean, when you hit this, whatever it was, I mean, you hit a dog and a human, right?
Yes, sir.
Or what was supposed to be a dog and a human. And so obviously, all 3 of you saw the same thing. They wouldn't be screaming otherwise. And so what'd you do?
There was no noise. I had to keep my composure and try to settle them down, and I had to try to decipher and disseminate what just happened.
And so
I was able to, and we all realized something did transpire there, and they wanted to go home, and I took them home. And to this day, I didn't even go home and share that with my parents or my mother or my stepmother, because I had to borrow her car, and I'm supposed to be out studying.
And where was this?
Outside of Chicago.
Outside of Chicago. So if they're listening this morning, they could contact me. And if you contact me, I'll put you all on together, and you can verify that story.
Let me tell you, my uncle, one of my relatives on that same road, he built a nice house about 4 years later. I went to a Christmas party, and his neighbor is an elderly man. And at this Christmas party, for some reason, I started a conversation with this man.
Yes.
And I asked him how long he lived there in the area, and he said forever. So I asked him, I said, down the road there, was there any man that ever died that had a dog?
Yes.
And he said he knew his name. It was his neighbor. He died, a car hit him, and he died. And I'm at this Christmas party with my relatives.
Yep.
And I didn't say anything because I didn't understand it. And over the years, I've listened to Father Martin.
Well, I still don't understand it. It's the scariest, most worrisome thing you can think about. If ever there's an innocent, it's somebody killed out walking their dog across the road, right? And this guy seems to be reliving getting hit by a car or many cars again and again and again. For what? Eternity?
And we, the 3 of us, we have to live that because it's part of our life, too.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sure it is. Well, maybe the girls will get in touch with me. It frequently happens. There's a whole lot of this that really is genuinely scary because it's just unimaginable to me that people would be sentenced to these horrible eternities. West of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hello.
Hi, Art. It's Brad.
Yes.
In Rancho Santa Fe, just half a mile from the Heaven's Gate incident.
Oh, yes. I can imagine there may be some ghosting about there.
I'm 45 years old. The story I'd like to tell you took place quite some time ago, back in the 70s. If you remember, towards the end of the Beatles' career, they embraced transcendental meditation for some time.
They sure did.
Well, believe it or not, when I was a junior in high school, the people that ran that cult came to our school on career day, to a public high school.
I'll be darned.
Under the guise of, they told the people that ran the school that if we all did this meditation, that we would all get better grades. They actually called it the science of creative intelligence at that time.
Did they really? And they thought schools were foo-foo these days.
Well, they bought it, and my mother did it. Just about everybody in the school signed up.
Really?
Well, what happened was after about 3 or 4 years.
Wait. Hold your story at that point. We have a break, so
okay.
I'm just going to hold you over, and we'll finish the story, all right?
Thank you, Art.
All right, stay right there.
Back at home with my wife, we were in bed messing around, and we're both kind of guarded people, but guarded as in, we don't let a lot of things out. I pay attention to a lot of things, and I trust my senses. Well, in bed, we were lost in thought, or whatever you want to call it. I got this feeling come over me as if
as if something was in the room with me. I never felt this feeling before, but like I said, I trust my senses, and I knew something immediately was wrong.
That'll take away the moment.
Well, it did take away the moment, and suddenly I got a vision in my head that I've never had before, and it was frightening. And what I saw was, imagine seeing a pit of hell with brimstone and fire and people in agony, and that flashed through my head. You know, I don't know how long it took, but it flashed in my head, and I stood up in bed, kind of bolt upright, and I got really cold all of a sudden. This was in the summer.
People in agony?
Yes, people in agony, screaming, writhing in pain.
Many people in agony?
Yes, it was just, like I said, it was just a brief flash in my mind.
Kind of like, listen very carefully. Maybe like a little piece of that, maybe?
That brings chills to me, because it was very similar to what I saw and heard and felt. Anyways, I kind of turned to my left, and I saw something flash on the corner of my eye, and you know, that really frightened me. And I turned to the right and kind of swung my feet out of the bed, and I saw a figure move from our bathroom into the doorway. And I turned, immediately looked to the doorway, and saw a figure move. Well, that frightened me. I jumped out of bed. I stood in the doorway, and I saw a figure running down the hallway. And at first I thought this was my wife's son. But like I said, I trust my senses. I knew something wasn't wrong or wasn't right. So I go to my wife and push her off the bed and scream at her, "There's somebody in the house, there's somebody in the house."
Do something, honey.
I start running down the hallway thinking that someone's trying to harm our children.
Sure.
And as I get almost to the hallway, across from my son's room is our bathroom, and I would be directly facing our daughter's room.
Yes.
And when I got in the hallway, a small figure, about the size of my son, about 3-4 feet tall, run across the doorway from the bathroom into his room. And of course, I ran into the room, and both of my children are sound asleep.
That's the one time you might do that, run in after something like that. If it ran into your child's room, you probably go in after it.
That's right. Well, the kicker of this part is like I said, that made me believe. But after this happened, my wife came out and said, you know, "What did you see? What did you see?" And then she started getting scared. And she said, hold on. And it was like she was praying for a minute. She said, "Hold on." And then she calmed down and said, "Okay, it's gone." I said, "What is gone?" She says, "It." And I said, "What is it?" And she explained to me to a T the person I saw.
Well, okay, thank you. I don't dismiss that. I don't dismiss certainly the fact that prayer can make whatever it is go away. But I don't know that means that, you know, I think we think that means it's erased. You know, whatever it was is now erased as far as we're concerned because it's gone. May not mean that at all. That thing is still somewhere. I mean, you didn't erase it, did you? Well, some of you would think so. Or release it maybe that'd be the word you'd use, release it. All you know is it's gone, right? You don't know gone to where, you know gone. Nevertheless, a tactic, if it works, it works. Wildcard Line, you're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Art.
Good morning.
Yes, I am calling from Lorain, Ohio, which is about 30 miles west of Cleveland, and I'm listening to WTAM.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I'm calling from a haunted house as we speak. Let me start by saying that this has been going on ever since I've been about 5 years old. We have quite a large family, 4 children, and my mom is raising us.
Sounds like you're on a cell phone.
Yes, I am, but can you hear me clearly?
Oh, I hear you, yes.
Okay, well, let me start by saying, first of all, that I have seen things, clouds, formations, shadows. People have heard voices calling their name. Friends have been slapped in the face in the middle of the night while they were sleeping over.
In your house?
Yes. As a matter of fact, Art, I listened to your last Ghost to Ghost, and we were trying to get a hold of the psychic from WTAM that could tell us.
Oh, yes, the one who was consulting the gentleman there in the sports reporter, I believe, who was living in a haunted house, yes.
Yes. Because me and my brother would like to do a documentary on my house. We are the only owners. My grandfather had built it from his hands, and it took him many years. Friends have seen faces. Friends have seen people. My sister has seen shadows.
Do you realize, though, how dangerous it is if in this house that you're in right now, there are things able to physically manifest to the point where they can slap a face, you are in significant danger.
Well, my mother has called a parapsychologist out in Cleveland State University, and the parapsychologist has told her that by the symptoms that we have named, that he believes it's some kind of child that likes to play games. And he told us, whatever you do, please do not tell him to go away or whatever it may be. Tell him to go to the light. Because if you tell him to go away, he will just go to another household. Have you ever heard of anything?
Well, I was just, I was sort of laying that out in a way a minute ago. You might call out a name or a religious icon or the name Jesus and get something to go, but that doesn't mean that it's gone. It just means it's gone from where you are.
Well, yes. I mean, these things have been going on for years. Lights flicker. Like I said, we have tried calling.
Do you know how many documentary producers have been found in pools of blood?
Really?
Do you know how many? Do you know how many?
No, I have no idea.
Yeah, me either. But probably quite a few. So what I'm saying is, careful. Be really careful.
Oh, trust me, Art, we will be. Like I said, I am trying currently to get a hold of the psychic from WTAM because we would like to just try to bring the spirit to peace. I mean, like I said, I mean, you're right. If this thing can do the things that I've named, then, you know, what danger can lurk? I mean, like I said, we're the first owners of this house.
Uh-huh.
And I don't see, you know, I just don't understand this. And it's quite frightening at times. I'll be sleeping in the middle of the night and I will feel something sit on my bed.
Oh, really?
I have a dog and a cat. My cat notices.
Of course your cat knows it's there. Sir, I'm sorry we're out of time, but you'd best get out of there. I wouldn't stay in a house like that. There's no way. Especially not the sitting on the bed with me part.
Juan, I feel someone pull on an extended leg of the tripod behind me, which I figured was one of the members, Roger, just, you know, fooling around, teasing me. I actually grabbed onto the tripod, so I gave the tripod a hard jerk to pull it away from his hand, which pulled loose, then turned around to look at him, and he was there, back about 15 feet. There was no one else around me.
Wow.
So whoever or whatever grabbed it was something invisible. So I came back on a subsequent investigation just shortly after that and decided this would be a good place to do some videotaping, see if I could get some infrared ghost lights there. Set up the camera at the top of the stairway, focusing down along the stairs. There was a little light, a little ambient light in the place, but not much. And as I'm focusing down there and watching the screen on my camera, I notice out of the corner of my eye that I see a silhouette, a shadow silhouette, come up behind me, just shining on the wall off to the right of the stairway, which is a very enamel, glossy kind of wall. So even in the dim light, the shadow shows very well.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't think too much of it. I suspect it really was probably, you know, Brendan or one of the other guys coming up behind me. Turned around to look, and no one's there. No one near me at all, but there's the shadow, perfect silhouette of a male figure still there.
Well, that figures. I mean, after all, with what you do. By the way, I'm going to be interviewing Brendan and company, I don't know, in this week or two.
Yeah, I saw that.
So, yeah, that's very typical of what you're going to get involved in if you go traipsing and looking, trying to look this stuff up. Eventually, you're going to find it. I mean, if you really want to find it, and there are a lot of people who write to me and say, "Hey, how do I find a ghost? I'd like to experience this." Well, fine. There's lots of places you can go. You can go hang around graveyards if you want to, if you're real serious about it. Sure, hang around graveyards. Listen to stories. There are houses and hotels that are haunted. There are many places you can go if you're really serious about it. But think real hard before you make your decision. Think really hard. Because you might not like what you find. First-time caller line, you're on the air. Hi.
Hi, this is Leonard in Seattle, listening to you on KOMO.
Hi, Leonard.
Hi. Oh, man, I want to tell you.
All right.
This was about 88, 89 when I was in high school. I grew up in Alabama. About, good hour and a half drive outside of my hometown. There was this old plantation house, kind of decrepit, falling down, disrepair, way out in the middle of nowhere. You had to go down a dirt road for quite some time to get to it.
Sure.
There was a kind of a story that everybody had heard surrounding this place, that when the Sherman, I think it was, one of the northern generals was coming down, and they were freeing slaves in a lot of the plantation houses. This one family was very adamant and against the idea of having their slaves freed, and actually decided that they would kill them rather than see them freed.
Wow.
These guys, they went back there, just started slaughtering people, had them chained up to the walls, just killing them.
Oh my
A few of the people, the slaves, managed to get themselves free, get a hold of some weapons, and started just slaughtering the family.
I'll bet.
In all, I think something like 50, 55 people just murdered brutally in this one little house and the area surrounding it in that night, and the rest of them just took off. So, you can imagine the angry souls that it would be hanging around this area.
Oh, I can indeed.
So one Saturday afternoon, me and some of my buddies had had a couple of beers, and we were thinking, oh, what kind of trouble can we get into? We thought we'd go and, hey, let's go look at that old house, investigate it, see what we can see.
Let's go catch us a ghost, Bubba.
Exactly, right.
All right.
So we get out there, and we're looking around the house. It's just decrepit, falling down, just in terrible disrepair. We go back out around to where the old slave quarters were, these little fallen down cabins and whatnot. We get close to this one cabin,
yes,
and apparently this, from what happened, I would assume that this is the place where all the killing happened. We walk up to it. We're about to go inside. I put my hand on the door, and that's when the noise starts.
Noise? What noise?
Screaming, banging on the walls. The whole shack started shaking like an earthquake. Completely freaked us out. Obviously, we didn't go in. We took off running. Cars were about 100 yards away. The weird thing is, the noise didn't get farther away as we were running farther away. It was like the noise was right over our heads. We were running like crazy.
Keeping up with you.
Exactly. I looked back towards the house and to the shack, and I saw big, bright red eyes looking out this window at us. Oh, man, we left about 3 inches of tire on the road getting out of there. I'm surprised we didn't run into a tree and have a wreck.
Well, you could have done that, ghost or not, but, whew.
That's as scared as I've ever been.
And, I take it you didn't go back.
Oh, no, we never went back into that area ever again. But,
well, I guess even these days, after a few beers, that'll slow you up, and you just don't suggest that kind of thing anymore.
Oh, well, yeah, we were pretty darn sober right at the time the house started shaking.
Isn't that amazing how the chemical balance of your body can change just like that?
Oh, yeah. Almost immediately.
Appreciate the story, sir. Thank you. East of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hello.
Good morning, Art. How are you this morning?
Well, Okay, sorta.
My name's Jim. I'm calling from Florida.
Yes, Jim.
And I'm listening to you on the Sky.
On the Sky?
WSKY out of Gainesville.
All right, Gainesville, yes.
Yes. Golly, where to start? I wrote you a while ago. Emailed you, but you were inundated with shadow people emails, so I'm sure you didn't get to mine.
Thousands of them.
Yeah, yes. I listened to the show last night, and it was absolutely fascinating. And I just want to take just a second to tell you how much my wife and I absolutely love your show.
Thank you.
Huge fans.
Thank you.
Where to start?
The beginning.
Yes. Around 1979, I got involved in a haunted house project. When I say haunted house project, I'm talking a theatrical event that would happen every year in my hometown up in Vermont.
You mean they put on a play about a haunted house? Or...
No, we found an old building and we put on a haunted house.
Oh.
But we didn't realize the building was already occupied.
Actually haunted.
Oh, yeah. Well, the whole thing was started by the local JCs, and they were just doing it as a fundraiser, and I got yanked in.
JCs are usually pretty nice.
Oh, yeah. Great bunch of people.
Oh, you mean the function, not the haunted.
Yeah.
Right,
Great
right.
bunch of people were, getting involved, raise a little money for the community, and they pulled me in because I knew I was a makeup artist. And, of course, when you're doing a scary haunted house, you want someone who can do the blood and the gore and all the fun stuff like that. So I got pulled in. So I went to a meeting at this building, and I pulled up in front of this thing, and it looked like the Addams family lived there. It was old. It was an old abandoned school building. Well, not entirely abandoned. Some of the offices were still being used, but it had been built around the turn of the century, very Victorian. 2-story redstone kind of building.
All right, listen, we've got this mentally pictured. Hold on, we'll do it after the break, all right?
Okay, sure.
All right, good. Stay right there. When you think about it, what better place for hauntings to occur than the yearly haunted house in town? You know, a lot of civic organizations do it for Halloween, right? They all build a haunted house. Goes on in almost every town across America. What better place, particularly over many years, to actually, have the real thing present, the real McCoy? Because you'd never be able to separate them, and nobody'd ever believe a word you say, and people can't hear you scream in space. West of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hello.
Hi, Art.
Hi.
This is Marie in Spokane.
Hi, Marie.
Hi. My story is about a ghost that my husband and I have seen.
Both of you?
We've both seen it. The first time I saw it was when I had a daughter. She was just a few months old. And my bedroom was across the hall from hers. And I was sitting in there one night, and I looked through my open door into her open door. And in the doorway is this woman dressed in white from top to bottom. And she's kind of glowing, and she's just standing there looking at me. And I kind of looked away and looked back, and she was gone. And I'd seen her a few times after that. And I didn't know what it was, but one night I was talking to my husband, and I kind of hesitantly said that I had seen this, and he says, oh, yeah, I've seen her too. And it was just really odd, and we started calling her the White Woman. And she was dressed in white from head to toe. She kind of looked like it was maybe an old-style nurse uniform.
Right.
And when we'd see her, she'd just be standing there. I wouldn't feel like there was anything wrong going on. It was like she was protecting the baby. And even when we moved, when the baby was about a year old, she moved with us.
She moved with you.
She moved with us, and she would kind of stand guard over the baby like a...
Now, see, that's really, really interesting.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
And it was like, she was like some stern librarian, She didn't have this smile. She would just stand there like she was standing guard.
I got you.
And, and now my baby's almost 5, and we haven't seen this woman in a few years. But this is my youngest daughter. The same daughter, she used to look around and watch things, kind of like you're saying you have that picture on the web of the baby sitting in the swing.
Did you see that?
I haven't seen it yet. I was going to look when I got done.
You understand though what I'm saying? That baby is obviously obviously you can see it in the baby's soul. It's seeing what we're seeing on film. It's really freaky.
We had a similar type things with our daughter. I never really looked through pictures of
Well,
her.
then it's obvious what she was seeing, isn't
She
it?
was seeing something, and when she was about 2, we'd watched the movie Fairy Tale. We have an older daughter, and we watched it, and she saw the fairies. And after she saw that movie, when she'd look up and look around and watch things moving around, she'd say, "Fairies, fairies." And she'd point at the fairies. And she was sure she could see fairies. And we'd just say, "Oh, neat, neat." And she just, it was just very unusual. She's
Children.
Children are very
Yeah, you do yourself a favor and you go look at that photograph.
I will.
On page number 2 of the ghost photos, all right?
All righty.
Thank you. Take care. Yes, indeed. There's no mistake about what that child is seeing. Children's expressions are easy to read, and that one's really easy to read, and it's really easy to see that child sees what the camera has captured. First time caller line, you're on the air. Hi. Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Where are you?
Right now, actually, I'm in holidays in Western Canada.
Okay.
I'm in skiing in Banff, but I'm a twin. My parents died when my brother and I were very young. We were raised by our grandfather. We both were in Vietnam, and my brother was killed, or that was our understanding. When I was I came home, and about 2 years later, my grandfather died. He and I were living alone in his house. The night that he dies, I'm sitting on the end of my bed, sort of contemplating life, feeling a little bit sorry for myself, and I feel someone sit down next to me.
Oh.
And put his arm around my shoulder, and it's my grandfather, and he says, "Daniel's alive."
Daniel's alive.
And Daniel's my brother.
I've got you, yes.
And I just froze. I didn't know what to think, and I sort of, the next day I had convinced myself that, I'm convincing myself that this is happening, and I tried to blow it off. That night, I was sitting in my grandfather's den on the couch, and I get a feeling, and I look over. I was just eating by myself. And I look over the door. My grandfather's there, and he says, "Daniel's alive, and he's trapped, and you got to go get him." And
he's trapped.
He's trapped, and so this was not too long after I'd come home, and I did make some trips back, and I was assuming that I thought he was a POW somewhere.
That's what it sounded like, yeah.
Yeah, and so I'd made a couple trips. I didn't really tell people what I was doing because I didn't want to get locked up.
Clear thinking. So anyway, we don't have a lot of time. So what happened?
Okay, so then about a year and a half later, I'm down there again, and I've decided that I'm not this isn't happening. And
you mean you're back in Vietnam?
Yes.
Yes.
And that morning, the phone rings in my room. I pick it up. It's my grandfather on the phone, and he says he's here. He's alive. Anyway, there's short on time. He was in a Greek Orthodox mission hospital. He was alive. He wasn't shot. He'd been in an accident of some sort, and he was in a semi-vegetative state. Anyway,
he was. In other words, he was in a coma.
Yeah.
Your brother was alive. You found him in Vietnam, and he was in a coma.
and we bring him home. After we get him out of the hospital at home, he was still, I mean, he never completely recovered, but I cared for him at home. The day we got home, and we're getting Daniel up into his room, there was sorry, I'm getting emotional just thinking about this. There was a mug that Daniel's made for my grandfather when we were in, I think, grade 6 or something. And it was sitting on Daniel's nightstand, and it was full of hot grape Kool-Aid. And the significance of that was that Daniel and I would drink hot. We loved it. And we used to pretend that we were drinking coffee like...
yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. So,
and, yeah, so a couple of years later, 5 years ago, Daniel died. And I was going to sell the house. I had listed it for sale, and anyway, I got a call from the realtor lady. She was a basket case.
We only got a few seconds.
Okay, and she went around the house. She couldn't open a single door in the house. They were all sealed shut. And she said that my brother had told her that the house wasn't for sale.
Well, I'll just let that one stand right where it is. But the clear implication is that somebody on the other side, if it's urgent enough, important enough, can come through in any way it must. Telephone, electronically, or in person. Up the audio, the streaming audio.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently you're not having a problem.
No, it takes about, a few more seconds for it to click in, and then it's on, just like a radio.
Cool.
I mean, perfectly. I want to throw something at you real quick before I get into my story. What is it about you and your red eyes? Because I have a good story for you.
Yeah, I don't really actually want to talk about it.
Okay, well, maybe you don't want to hear my story.
No, I'll listen to your story. You go right ahead. Let's hear it.
Well, it kind of kicked off when you had Gunny on last night. And I'm sure you've probably seen and you've heard people mention the movie already, Amityville.
Oh, of course.
All right, remember the scene about the red eyes through the window?
Yeah.
Okay. Out of that whole darn movie, that's the only thing that scared the you-know-what out of me. And anyhow, during my school years, going to college, I always thought there was a presence in my room and this kind of thing. And people say, oh, you're just dreaming. Well, okay. But why is it when I wake up, it's always right at 3:15 in the morning? Just like in the movie. And I thought, nah, it's no big deal. Well, this went on, and like every other night, I'd always wake up right on the dot. And I had one of those illuminated clocks, 3:15 in the morning.
Yes.
Okay. Several years later, while I'm married, I had the red eyes show up. And
that's I was about to say, waking up at 3:15 or a given time every day is not all that unusual. A lot of people do that.
Right.
But not the red eyes.
Well,
how did they show up?
Well, in this case, and I mentioned Gunny because, not to go backwards here, but yeah, picture 17 and 18, I've seen those big time.
Mm-hmm.
But anyhow, he was mentioning how sometimes things will come to you in a dream state, or at least you're real relaxed or whatnot. But I was laying in my bed, and all of a sudden it's like wham! I'm being chased.
In bed?
I'm in a tunnel with slimy walls.
Oh, and all right. So you're suddenly out of your body.
Right, and all I see is these red eyes coming at me, and I'm running like you know what?
Yeah, that'll keep you going.
Well, I woke up screaming and yelling. My wife thought somebody was in the house. Even the hair on the back of my neck was standing up.
Well, this is usually called a nightmare.
I know. It's supposed to be a ghost story. Guess what? I look at the clock.
3:15.
3:15.
I could have guessed.
And, maybe a month or two later, not the running or the chasing, but I'm laying in my bed, and yes, most people say, oh, you just fell asleep. Well, I'm staring at my door, and my closet door, like you were saying, you don't like your open door closets.
Right.
And I don't know if I was hallucinating, I wasn't drunk, wasn't doing drugs, but I'm going to sleep, I thought. And boom, there's the eyes, just like that.
In the closet?
Coming out of the closet.
Coming out of the closet.
No silhouette. Just
A red eye coming out of the closet.
Just the darn eyes.
I'm done with you, sir. I don't want to hear any more of that. Red eyes coming out of a closet. Sorry, that's it. That's where I draw the line. I don't want to hear any more. That is, of all the nightmares that could be, that's the worst. That's something that that's just enough. West of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hello.
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 I guess it's me. How are you?
Well, I was all right.
I have a ghost experience that changed my life.
Oh, well, they usually do. Go right ahead.
I took a job as a custodian at a research center in the country. And my first night, this guy, he had a DUI, so he couldn't drive. He wanted me to take him home. And I said, yeah, I would. And we wound up coming home this back way. And he said that he didn't want me to go down this certain street, for fear of ghosts or whatever.
Sure.
I went down there anyway.
Although that's pretty unusual. I mean, if somebody isn't going to go down the street, I mean, you're on your way somewhere, and it's not usual to give anybody that reason. We're not going to go there because there might be ghosts. Come on.
Yeah, this is true. Well, I come up at the stop sign, and at the other stop sign on this street, there's an intersection, and there's a car at the stop sign, too. It's a black car.
Yes.
And it didn't signal. Then it put on its signal abruptly, and I was at the stoplight. And for some reason, I didn't go. I was supposed to go, then it was supposed to turn.
Yes.
And I got goosebumps. I started shivering, and my friend is just talking to me. He's holding a conversation because we just met each other. And I can't go. I'm stuck at the wheel, and I'm just looking at this car. And then finally, for some reason, I started inching out, and the car started inching out too. And I was just trembling, and he was talking to me. And I looked, and in this black car is this woman with this grotesque, wrinkled face, just staring at me. Old woman. I mean, it just looked dead. And I looked at my friend, and I go, what an ugly woman. And he goes, what are you talking about? I go, don't you see that car right there? And he goes, I don't see anything. What are you talking about? And I just kept going. I go, do you see me trembling? And he goes, no, I don't see anything. Okay, well, this is the first night. The second night, I decided to go down there to try this again. We got on the same road, same night, till about 3 in the morning, something like that. We're driving down.
Why would you, wait a minute, why would you possibly go back to the same place again after something that terrifying? Why would you go back?
I think it's because he told me he didn't see anything, and maybe I thought I was delusional. I don't know. But I decided to try it again. Maybe I should be a ghost hunter. I don't know. But anyway, the second night, same road, same everything, almost the same spot. We're driving down, and there's this house on the corner. And we're driving, and we're coming up to this same stoplight, and I start to slow down, and I look, for some reason, I look over at this house, and I look up, and it's a 2-story house, and in the second story, there's this room with a red light on. And it looked like it's radiating out the window, almost like, have you ever developed film?
Yes, I have.
They use the red light.
Yes.
See? That light is coming out. And I just stopped, and I was like, for some reason, it intrigued me, and I told my friend again, and he saw the light this time. I go, do you see that light? And he's like, yeah, I guess it's kind of unusual for someone developing film at 3 in the morning, huh? And he was like, yeah, I guess. And we look, and we're looking and staring, and then I see that woman's face in the window, staring back at me.
Same woman.
The same face. Then I told my friend, okay, I'm not delusional. Do you see that? And he's like, no, I don't. So we get out of the car, and we go to the house, we knock on the door to make sure that I'm not crazy. And this old gentleman answered the door. I mean, we wake him up at 3 in the morning. Of course, he's mad. Upset.
What the hell are you on, son?
Yeah, pretty much. And, I told him, I said, hey, there's, we saw this red light coming out of your second-story house. We just wanted to make sure everything was okay. We didn't want to think we're crazy. And he's like, what are you talking about? And we said, upstairs, is there someone here? Or he goes, no, I live alone. We go, do you have a dark room or something? Well, no, I don't have a dark room. I go, well, what's upstairs? He's like, nothing really, just, some old keepsakes or something, whatever. And we told him that there was a light on upstairs or this or that. Well, he went upstairs and he said, well, nothing's on or this or that. So we said, okay. Well, as we're walking back to the car, we look into the orchard, which is behind his house, and there's a light on in the orchard.
And
I go, let's go check it out. So we go walking over, to this light, and we keep getting farther and farther into the orchard, and then finally we come across this light.
You only got a few seconds.
Okay, so my friend goes, hey, there's a note. So he picks it up, and he put it in his pocket, and just as he looked up, he goes, I hear something, do you? And then I said, no. So we got back in the car.
Real quick.
And we're taking off down the street, and I almost hit that woman with the face. And when I got home, we pulled out the note, and it said, nice to meet you.
Oh. The young and the stupid.
We all start laughing hysterically, and all of a sudden there's not 3 of us laughing, there's 4 people laughing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and we look in this guy, he's dressed just kind of like us, hiking boots, blue jeans, a down-filled jacket, but his eyes look like the eyes of an animal caught in somebody's headlights.
Yeah.
And so my buddy Paul goes...
I know the look.
Right, my buddy Paul goes, who the are you?
Yes.
And the guy continues to laugh, gets up, turns around and walks about 3 steps away and just basically disappears.
Oh, my.
And being young teenage bravado, right, we're thinking somebody's trying to pull a little trick on us, so we all jump up and we're going to go find this guy. Well, it's too dark to walk in the secluded area without flashlight.
No, wait a minute. I could take the somebody's fooling around with us part of this, except for the fact that you just said he disappeared before your eyes.
That's what we thought, but then,
we're three of you now.
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't smack of a high school prank.
No, it doesn't. And that's what happened was, after a few minutes, we kind of came back to the fire, and the longer we sat there, the scareder we got.
Yep.
And pretty soon it was, we think we better move our camp.
Right.
And so we did. We actually got up that night and moved closer to where we knew there were some other people, because the longer we sat there, the more freaked out we were. But I just wanted to throw that in because none of us said, in the name of Jesus, go away. It was basically, who the are you? And whoever he was turned around and walked away.
Well, maybe you spoke the language he knew.
Well, that's true. Maybe a drowned camper would understand that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. West of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hello.
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 Hi, Art. How are you?
Oh, progressively going downhill here lately.
Well,
I'm hanging in there. How are you doing?
Well, actually, what I'm about to tell you actually goes back about 10 or 15 years when I was in the canal zone.
Oh, really? Panama Canal, yes.
Yeah. And my sister and I, she lived in Gamboa. She had a Ouija board. This is going to get strange, but we kind of got the plan around. It's the first and the last time I ever played with one of those things. And we contacted a spirit, if you will, and asked where it was from, and it spelt out Culebra, which is the town of Culebra during the construction days. And my sister asked it to make, if it could make a present, and it said yes.
When you're doing all this on a Ouija board and you're getting that much information back and it's beginning to be contemporary, a town at this point, how are you accounting for what you're doing?
Well, I'm really not sure, man. This was, like I said, the first and last time we ever played with anything like this. Okay. Anyway, she asked if it could make a presence, and it said yes, and it spelt out clock, CLOCK, and then it went to buy.
Spelled it out on the Ouija.
Spelled out clock
on the Ouija board.
It literally.
And then
went to buy. It left. Yeah. My sister had about 6 cats at the time, and about 3 minutes after it went by, the cats were running wild in the house, and one of them went behind the refrigerator.
Yep.
And she had a clock that was made out of some exotic wood cut out of Panama, of the shape of Panama, and the clock we had noticed had turned at a 45-degree angle. Now, after that incident, we never, ever, ever brought out that Ouija board again.
Well, you're lucky that what obviously decided to interact with you didn't decide to stay and or cross over.
Well, it's just kind of funny. We're talking about construction day era,
And it just kind of freaked us out a little bit because, I mean, you don't just see clocks like turning on the walls and things like that. And we didn't physically see it turn. We just happened to notice later on, within about 5 or 10 minutes.
Well, yeah, sure. It's pretty specific. If it says clock and then the clock is physically turned, that'd be enough. That'd be more than enough for me, especially after all that spelling.
Well, it scared the hell out of me, dude.
I hear you. All right, thank you. Take care. East of the Rockies, you're on the air. Good morning.
Hi, this is Denise from Iowa.
Iowa, yes.
And when I was 17, I was in my bed sleeping, and I woke up and I saw a spirit looking down on me.
What kind of spirit?
Well, I'll describe him for you. He had a black hat on, his blonde hair, white, and he had a red shirt and black jeans on, and I could see through him, but not. I can totally see him. Like,
was he actually hovering above you, standing in front of you, sitting?
He was standing over me.
Over you?
Yeah, he was looking. Just look down. Just put your head down. Look, and then he walked through my window.
Walked through your window?
Yeah.
As in leaving?
Uh-huh. And then I jumped up and I looked out in my window and nobody was there.
A lot of people would find it amazing that you would jump up and look out your window.
He looked so real to me, so it's like, wait a minute.
I mean, I just can't believe in modern day, when we all know that if you go up to a door or a window where something like that has happened, a hand is going to grab you and drag you through the glass until there's nothing left of you but a shred when you go up to the window like that. So I just can't believe in this modern day you would actually go up to the window.
Oh, well, my bed was right next to the window, so I just looked over at my window.
Okay. I appreciate your story.
Thanks.
Thank you. Wildcard line, you're on the air.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, this happened about summer of '97.
It's going to have to be a real fast one because our program is ending.
Okay, I lived in the town of all towns in Pahrump about that time.
Pahrump. Oh,
yeah.
Great. Oh.
Yeah.
Great. Let's end it this way. All right.
And I was living with a girlfriend of mine at the time, and this one house is a single wide with attachment plate on it and everything. And every once in a while, her 4-year-old daughter at the time would come up because there's a man in my closet. I go back there and look, nothing there. And then every time I'd hear voices standing by the front door, or somebody hear voices standing in the back room, and we go outside, nothing. Dark, and can't see anything. Get a flashlight, don't see nothing. I'd call her on the phone when I was out on the road, and she'd say, hold on a minute, somebody's in the bathroom. And then she'd say, I just heard the toilet flush. I'm the only one in the house. Because her kids would be over at her mom's at the time or something. Or then the weird things like that would happen all the time. And we parked one night about a block away from the house, and we just watched the house, and we just saw shadows moving inside the house. Or you could see the lights from the next door neighbor cutting through the windows, and you just see shadows roaming back and forth across the house. And it was like, needless to say, we didn't stay there very long. We ended up moving to another house across town.
You know, let me tell you something. There are haunted houses. I really haven't said this before, but there are haunted houses here in Pahrump, Nevada. In fact, there are references to them on the World Wide Web.
Oh, really?
Yeah, right here, of course. Doesn't it figure right in my own little town?
Of course.
I mean, why not? It seems to happen everywhere else, so it might as well be here in my own hometown. And here you are, my final caller with a haunting in Pahrump.
Yeah, and well, that's the only one I knew about. I lived there for about 6 years, and that's the only one I knew about happening in there.
Well, you're obviously out on the road now, right?
Well, I moved back to Nebraska. I just got off the truck, and I'm headed home now.
So you're really on the last leg of your trip.
Right, yeah.
How does it feel to be back in a little car after being in the truck all that time?
Oh, kind of different. I've been doing it for so long. I used to have a mail Jeep back there in Nevada and going from a big vehicle to a small one with steering wheel on the wrong side was all kinds of fun.
Good night, my friend.
Good night to you.
From the high desert and the great American Southwest, I bid you all good evening and or good morning, wherever you may be across this great land of ours, from Guam, out across the dateline, all the way east to the Caribbean and the U.S. Virgin Islands, where I'm going to go visit one day, south into South America, north all the way to the pole. This is Coast to Coast AM, worldwide, of course, on the Internet. All right, now, to that portion of the show promised. He does not do frequent interviews, barely ever does them. As a matter of fact, that really goes for both of these gentlemen. I now would like to bring on Mike Rogers and Travis Walton. So let's do it one at a time and be sure we can get them planted properly. First, let's go to Mike Rogers. Mike, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, you hear me okay?
Yeah.
All right, good. Let's see if we can bring Travis on. Travis Walton, good evening. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, excellent. We've got you both just fine. All right. I don't know where to start. I sat down and watched Fire in the Sky again and took notes this time. And so I guess I'll kind of move through it the way they did, except I would like to not do it the way they did, with the flashback in the beginning and then the story taking up. Mike, you had a government contract of some kind with the Forest Service?
Right.
What was that to do?
Well, we had to thin out the trees that were damaged and diseased and whatnot after a logging operation and pile the debris. Basically, it's just kind of an ecological program that cleans up the forest after logging and makes the trees grow better.
All right, and you were the crew chief for that?
Right.
How big a project was it? How long were you going to be up there?
We'd been on it about a year and a half at that time.
Oh, I see. All right. So
it was a pretty good sized contract.
Exactly. You were married at the time, Mike. Are you still in a divorce status?
Right. I haven't been married now for many years.
Okay. I guess at the time also the movie went into the thing that you had some financial troubles.
The movie took a few liberties. I wasn't really having financial troubles. I was having troubles trying to live the American dream and have quite as much as I wanted, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And then it covered a little piece where Travis drove up on a motorcycle and wanted to start a motorcycle shop there. Is that right, Travis?
Yeah.
So you did do that?
Well, we had, various businesses we thought we might get in together, but, the motorcycle thing was more kind of my idea. I don't know that Mike and I had plans together.
So the movie at least was pretty true in that area?
Yeah, I was kind of into motorcycles at the time.
All right.
Still am, I guess.
Yeah. Scene shifts, and you guys are on the way up to the mountains to do the contract. And on the way up, Travis, you got into kind of a thing, a bit of a friction with Alan Dallas.
Yeah, well, he was kind of a wild guy, and he'd had a little friction with probably several of the guys on the crew at various times.
You guys arrived okay at the work site then, worked all day, left the work site around dark. Was it already dark when you left?
Well, not quite dark. It was getting dark. The sun had gone down and it was darkening.
Okay. Then you, on the way down, I guess, you both saw something, some sort of glow or fire in the sky. The way the movie made it look, I've seen fires at night, and it looked just like a fire in the distance, kind of lighting the horizon. Is that about right?
Well, we could see it through the trees, and, first we didn't know really what it was. We thought it might be a forest fire, but it was more of a golden color rather than a red color.
And then it apparently moved?
Well,
did it look like a fire was spreading, or did it look like just the whole thing was moving?
We were just puzzling over a lot of different things. Nobody really talked about it while we were looking at it because, there wasn't that much time. We saw it, and, I heard the guys kind of one by one fall silent from, the various conversations that were going on. So I assumed that they were all looking at what I was looking at, but nobody said, starting analyzing out loud what it was. There was more, what was going on inside of our heads.
If you'd have had to guess then, would you have said fire or plane crash?
Well, it was puzzling, you know, because at first I was thinking fire, but then the light seemed to be coming from higher above. You know, I knew the ridge top was just a little bit above us, but this was from higher above that. So that's the reason the plane crashed. Maybe it was like hanging up in a tree or something.
And I guess we ought to identify exactly where this was. Where was your work site?
It was the highest area up on the Mogollon Rim, forested region up in the mountains of Arizona.
Mm-hmm. And so you were at about what altitude, do you think?
Oh, I don't know. What do you think, Mike? 7,500 feet.
7,500. Oh, you were way up there then. All right. Then in the movie, as they always do in movies of this kind, the radio started to go crazy. Is that also accurate?
Well, we didn't have a radio on at the time.
So that's a little dramatic license they took then?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. At any rate, did you guys head toward this, or did you just keep going down the road and that took you closer to the light?
Yeah, that's the way it was. See, there was just no other way out of there, and we had no choice but to keep going in the direction we were going.
All right, and somebody yelled to stop the car. Was that you, Travis?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it was me. As soon as we got around this group of trees, this thicket, to where we could see the source of this, somebody in the back yelled out, "It's a spaceship," or something like that. And, I mean, it was unmistakable. It was so close that, everybody knew what it was right off the bat. Nobody needed to say what it was.
Okay, in the movie, and again, it's, I'll tell you what the movie did, or I'm sure you know what the movie did. They showed it to be a craft, but then at other times they showed it to be sort of a living light almost. Did they get that right, or how would you describe what you saw?
What we saw was very distinct as a mechanical object with, hard, angular edges. It didn't have the shape that they gave it in the movie. Now, the guys described it as looking to be the color of molten metal coming out of a blast furnace. But, they're talking about white hot, golden hot,
Sure.
So, they gave the craft in the movie a kind of a molten red, flowing sort of look that wasn't really the way it was.
How if you had to judge, or either one of you who saw it, how far above ground was it? If you were going to guess.
Oh, I don't know, 20 feet.
20 feet? Oh, that's not far. In other words, it was way down below the tree line.
Yeah.
Oof. So that's close. That's a close encounter, all right. Then the movie, Travis, shows you getting out of the truck. Is that right?
Yeah. I was thinking that this thing was just going to zip off and be gone. The way it is when you catch sight of a wild animal in the woods, you're just going to glimpse it and it's going to be gone. And so I was in a hurry to get up to it before it left.
Here's where I got to stop you for a second, Travis. In the horror movies, when inevitably the lady, you hear this noise, this horrible noise, and inevitably she goes to one place she shouldn't go, down to the basement, where something eats her. So in other words, here you are with a pretty frightening thing going on, a ship hovering, 20 feet above the ground or something, and you get out of the truck and go under it?
It's kind of a crazy impulse.
When you think back on it now, can you remember what you were thinking when you did that?
Well, I was kind of given to impulsive behavior back in those days. It certainly, changed me, and I'm not that way anymore. But, at the time I was just thinking that, it'd be gone, and I'd miss a chance to see it up close. And plus, the guys were really alarmed by what I was doing, and
they were yelling at you to come back to the truck.
Yeah, they were, and getting pretty excited about that. So, that kind of egged me on. So,
okay.
But I was having serious misgivings because as I got closer to it, it didn't take off.
I understand. Was there any noise?
Yeah, it was a very strange sort of a sound, kind of a high-pitched cyclic sound with some real deep tones that just, you know, seemed to be so deep you almost couldn't hear it.
Would you describe it? Would you describe it as real loud or just there?
Well, it was just there. It wasn't tremendously loud at first, but then when I got closer, and it suddenly got louder and it started to move, and it rose up a little bit, and that really scared me. And
they're still yelling at you, Mike. I'm sure you're still yelling at them from the truck, right?
Oh yeah.
Is your recollection of it, Mike, like his regarding the craft itself and the noise?
Oh yes, yeah. In fact, there's little difference, if any, between all the guys that were there in the descriptions of everything concerning it, from its distance to its size to its look and the sound that it was giving off.
Okay, at this point, there's what, 6 of you in the truck?
There's that? Well, 6 in the truck, yeah.
6 in the truck, and Travis
maybe 7
out there under the craft. So there's Travis under the craft. How much time went by, Travis, before your memory either ends or that bolt of light hit you?
It was just seconds, because as soon as it started to move, you know, I jumped for cover and resolved. I made up my mind to get out of there and get back to the truck, like they were saying.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as I raised up to go, wham, that's when I went out.
Just at the very moment common sense overtook you. Now, in the movie, it showed this bolt of light that came down and literally threw you up in the air. Is that accurate, or is that dramatic license?
So what they did there in the movie didn't quite look the way it actually happened. In fact, the movie didn't make it quite dramatic enough. The movie did some things that were a little exaggerated. In other places, they under-exaggerated, and that's one of the places where the movie didn't make it as dramatic as it was in real life. The thing that hit Travis, whatever it was so powerful that it blew him back like an explosion. It didn't gently lift him up and throw him back like that. It was his going backwards was the result of a very hard blast of some kind. Like I've described it many times as like a hand grenade going off in front of him, and he was blown backwards, literally.
Wow. And Travis, is that where your immediate memory ends? In other words, were you out cold?
Yeah, I just kind of felt a numbing sort of a shock, but it was just, I was out instantly.
Out instantly. All right, then at this point, we shift back to you, Mike. There he is, laying on the ground. Looks like he's been blown up by something. And that's when the panic hit the fan, I guess, with you guys. At least that's what the way they showed it in the movie, and I can imagine that's the way it was. What did you guys think?
The movie depicted that real well right there. It was almost identical to what happened afterwards. I mean,
total panic.
It wasn't, I don't even know if it showed in the movie 2 or 3 seconds before I hit the gas. I think I hit the gas more or less immediately seeing him hit the ground.
You thought he was dead?
Well, he looked dead flying through the air, and he sure looked dead when he hit the ground on his back. He didn't even flinch, didn't make a motion when he hit the ground.
Okay, so
it rolled up around him, and we were headed down the road.
I can imagine you were, and you say it was almost immediate. You didn't want to end up like you thought he was.
Right, it was a panic situation.
All right, so then they showed the truck just careening down this road. I don't know, how fast were you guys going? Do you remember?
If they could have actually taken footage of that truck going down the road, it would have looked almost exactly like it did in the movie.
Wow. And then careening is the right word, hitting things.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
Smacked the mirror, busted the mirror off, you know. There were actually humps in the road, which they didn't show there, humps that were bulldozed up mounds of dirt to prevent erosion. And every time I hit one of those things, the truck would go flying.
Oh, mackerel.
And, you know, crash down on its shocks real hard. And
all right,
yeah, it was a real crazy panic flight.
How far down the road, still going down the mountain, right? How far down the mountain did you get? How much further away from the scene did you get before you started talking about stopping and going back?
Probably not even a quarter of a mile. me and Ken Peterson, who was sitting right next to me, the one sitting between Travis and I on the front seat of the truck, he was the next oldest to myself. He was only 2 years younger than me. He was 26, I was 28. And he was like the next oldest. Travis was actually 4 years younger than that. But Ken and I both seemed to realize about the same time that, here we are flying down the road like this. But it was like, as soon as I could see that it wasn't following us, as soon as you could tell from looking in the rearview mirror and the other guys looking back, and it's not following us, whatever it is, it's still way back there. We've got a quarter-mile distance between us. In fact, in the trees, we've lost sight of it. And then it's not quite so panicky. It's like, what did we do? We left Travis back there.
Yeah, in a way, you're like Travis. Common sense returned about a quarter mile down the road.
Right.
So it hit both of you really the same way, utter absolute panic. I do understand. And so then you finally stopped the truck, is that right?
Yeah, did stop the truck a quarter mile down the road, just hit the brakes and stopped.
All right, both of you, hold on 1 second. We'll be right back to you. My guests are Mike Rogers and Travis Walton. Back now to Travis Walton and Mike Rogers. I'll try to give them equal top billing here as we go along. Back with you again. So, Mike, the truck stops, and you say what?
Well, Ken and I looked at each other, and nobody said anything for a moment.
No.
And I said, finally, we're going to have to go back, And somebody in the back, Alan, I think, yells out, what? We left Travis back there, and he certainly looked hurt. We need to go back. And, of course, a quarter of a mile down the road, it didn't take very long to get there, the speed I was traveling, and this is not something that took well. We started arguing about this, and after a couple of minutes, we got out of the truck, all of us but one, I think, and we stood out there on the other side of the truck, away from this thing because I'd made a left-hand turn, and now this thing was looking back to the north and across through the forest there, and I really couldn't see any light or anything at all. We put enough distance between us and the forest was thick enough through the quarter mile of foliage there that we couldn't see a thing.
Yeah, dark again.
Right. And we're standing there in the dark. It was even a moonless light. There was a sliver of a moon just about to go down on the horizon, just a sliver. And it was really getting quite dark there. And so after a little bit of a hectic discussion, a wild and crazy attempt to explain what had happened to each other, there was no sense going on there at all, really. The only sensical thing was that Travis is still back there, and we don't know what happened to him. We don't know what's happening to him. We need to go back. It wasn't very brave of us to leave, and we need to go back. And finally, we just made a decision, at least Ken Peterson and I made a decision that we had to go back. Unlike the movie, where in the movie they had the guys stand there by the road, that's one difference there. In reality, everybody elected to get back in the truck and go back rather than stand there in the dark.
Oh, that's a pretty big difference.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, I would think the other guys would resent the way the movie portrayed them.
Well, yeah, there has been a little of that. Well, for all of us, I guess. There's been the good and the bad as far as the way we looked at the movie, but this was one particular difference that made a lot of difference to me because it made it look like I was the only one that went back at all and had any, look-see, when in reality everybody went back. And one thing that made it easier for us, I think was kind of the reason why we just went ahead and went back, is because as I was rounding the truck to get back in my door on the other side of the truck, and the other guys are getting in, we looked back over in the direction that this thing had been, and a light, this thing never really got above the treetops. You could see the light finally, and it lifted up and streaked away to the northeast.
Oh, my God. Well, now, see, they missed that one in the movie, too, really.
Uh-huh.
So you're saying the craft, and you were how far from it? Still a quarter of a mile away. Quarter of a mile away, and you saw it lift up and streak away. At this point,
Right. It was so fast, and you couldn't see it clearly because you're looking through the trees. Remember, these trees right next to us are reaching to the sky, and there wasn't any way that you can see anything clearly. But you can see through the foliage. You can see this light a quarter of a mile away raise up and streak away.
Wow.
And
all right. So at this point, then, everybody piles back into the truck, and you go back up the quarter mile to the site where you last saw Travis.
Well, there was a little more discussion that went on there, but it takes a long time to explain these sort of things. But yes, we did go back, and it'd been maybe 15 minutes at the most before we actually went back to the site.
All right, gentlemen, here's where you get to take a rest. We'll be right back with you, all right?
You bet.
All right, both of you stay right there. Stay planted, everybody. I've got guests. Mike Rogers, who was the crew chief, along with Travis Walton. Travis is also here. And we're talking about an incident that occurred, an abduction, the abduction of Travis Walton, as depicted in Fire in the Sky, and sometimes not as depicted in Fire in the Sky. In other words, we're getting the real story. Travis had already encountered the vehicle, the craft, whatever it is you want to call it, and it had thrown a light on him, zapped him backwards, literally almost blowing him up. Mike and the rest of the guys had taken off down the hill. They were down the hill, as a matter of fact, about a quarter of a mile away, finally decided to turn around and go back and get Travis as soon as they calmed down after that truck careened down the hill. And they're just about to start back up, and we'll get to them in just a moment. Let me take care of the commercial continuity right now. Back now with Mike Rogers and Travis Walton. Welcome back, both of you.
Yeah.
Okay, Mike, so here you are, I guess, headed back up the hill with everybody in the truck. You're going to find Travis, and I take it you go up a little slower than you came down.
A lot slower. Yeah, we headed back up there, and very, very slowly, very cautiously. We were still in a mild state of panic. I mean, it wouldn't have taken much to cause us to turn around and run, but we were headed that way, and we did get back to the site where this had happened. Upon doing so, since the thing was gone and there was no trace of it, it took a little bit of time to actually make certain that we had the right clearing. But once we had done that, and we're certain we had the right place, and we're sure that we were in the right spot, we took a flashlight out of the glove box and shone it around there while we were still in the truck. Not seeing anything, shone the flashlight into the clearing where Travis had fallen, and he wasn't there either.
No depression in the ground like in the cartoons, you know, a Travis Walton depression in the ground?
Well,
nothing like that.
This was 90 to 100 feet away where he fell, 90 to 100 feet from the road.
Right.
And so, you couldn't have seen a depression from that distance. But there was a slash pile, a pile of logging debris there in the middle of this clearing, which Travis had been standing next to when he had gotten hit. And so we used that as kind of a locating device, and he wasn't anywhere in that clearing that we could see.
Brother.
So we just shone the light around for a while, still being very cautious, very timid, frightened, completely mentally overwrought. Just, emotions were at a high point.
You were probably in a state of shock.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure that we were. I mean, I know what shock has been explained to me like, and I was definitely in a state of shock, and the other guys later on explained their feelings of it similarly. But we eventually pulled the truck up into the clearing where the headlights of the truck shone right into the clearing and right where Travis had fallen. And then there was another discussion that had to take place about getting out of the truck and looking around. And again, it was a unanimous decision that everybody do it together. rather than me or Ken getting out, everybody decided to go with us rather than stay in the truck alone.
Mm-hmm.
So we were all walking around out there, but we were all very close to each other, you know, shoulder to shoulder.
Sure.
6 men, you know, just as close together as they could get.
I understand.
And we had the one flashlight, but we walked up and down the ridge. We looked for everything. The only tracks we could find, which were barely visible in the pine needles intermittently, a heel mark in the edge of the road that I saw before we got out of the truck. And then, you know, you could see the pine needles were disturbed there where Travis had fallen, where he had stood. But that was the only sign of him. There was nothing else there. And there were no footprints in the road leading out. But, you know, from what we saw of the way that this thing hit him and how he flew backwards and how he hit the ground, it was pretty unanimous feeling among us that he wouldn't have gotten up from where he lay, you know.
So he had to be taken.
Yeah. Well, everything put together, all this put together, it made that very strong. And by the time we left there to head back down the hill to notify the authorities, we felt that he was taken. I mean, it was a real strong feeling. We had no other explanation. And we know that he didn't walk out of there. We know that we didn't feel he was hurt in the first place. That, you know, he looked dead when he hit the ground, and we were certain that he had been abducted.
All right, so you guys drove back to town, probably half in a state of shock the whole way, and reached this cafe gas station that they showed in the movie. Is that accurate?
Fairly. There wasn't a lot of people around. Like in the movie, they added more people and whatnot into that. But what actually happened is that we stopped there. In fact, on the way into town, see, I wasn't the one that actually made the call. I guess they just chose to use my character throughout the movie there in certain places. They do things like that to simplify movies. I understand that. So.
And because you had been the crew chief, so in certain, they would imagine that you would act in. Who did call?
Well, a guy who they even changed his name in the movie. His real name is Ken Peterson. In the movie, they called him something else. I don't remember right now what it was.
Had you guys made a decision, all of you, that you would call? I mean, you knew.
No, that was the problem. I would have called normally, but I was against it. I didn't believe that we would be believed. I thought that we should report it as a person in our crew missing. Somebody got lost, and try to get somebody to help us search for him. In fact, I didn't even want to notify the authorities. I thought we ought to just get some people. I didn't have a deliberate plan in mind, or just
go up and find Travis.
Yeah, I just knew that we needed to look for him before the authorities were notified, because I just knew that they would not believe this, you know.
Yeah.
And that was my feeling. So this was a discussion on the way back into town. And so by the time we got there, it was Ken Peterson that called, and the reason he called was because he was very firm. He was the guy in the movie that was, even though they changed his name, he was depicted as the choir boy, the steadfast...
the church-going fellow.
The church-going choir boy, right.
Yeah.
Never told a lie in his life, and that's a very accurate description of Ken Peterson. And he was very adamant about reporting this to the authorities. He wouldn't take any other thing for a way of doing it. I mean, he was firm on that entirely, and so he's the one that called. And he called... he didn't know who the authorities were, but the call that he made there in Heber connected him with the Chuck Ellison, who's a local deputy there, Navajo County deputy.
Right.
And he's the first one we talked to, and then after talking to him for a while, and I don't think that Chuck Ellison believed it at all, just like I suspected. But after a while, an hour later, after Chuck Ellison had notified the county seat, the actual sheriff, who was Sheriff Marlon Gillespie, came down with another man, an undersheriff, Ken Copeland, with him.
So there was nobody named Blake Davis?
No, that was a composite character.
Yeah, okay.
And
Lieutenant Frank Waters, also composite?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. All right.
See, there were a lot more law authorities altogether involved, and to get all those people and their real names and their, there was composite characters.
I've got you.
That was done several times in the movie because the movie involved a lot more characters everywhere along, and they had to simplify that, I guess, is the only explanation I know of, but it makes sense that they would do that.
Well, there was one point there where, I guess just before the law arrived, you said, look, we're going to stick with our story, or somebody said we're going to stick with our story. Was there a general agreement to do that?
Well, it's funny. I think the movie was trying to play kind of a murder mystery type of thing to the audience. In reality, this stick to it is, let's not have contention among us here, even though we have differences of opinion of what we should do and what we should say to the authorities. It was like, Ken says, I'm gonna call them, and I'm gonna tell them the whole truth here, and I hope you guys don't try to act differently, because this is what we need to do. We need to tell the complete whole truth about this thing, and just let the chips fall where they may.
Well, you had to know one of the places those chips were going to fall was in the murder column. In other words, they were going to suspect this because of the nature of the story. There was no way not to.
At the time, I really didn't have that in mind. Because we did not know what happened to Travis exactly. We had our own feelings about it, but we certainly didn't know that he was going to be gone, or especially for as long as he was. There was no way I could foresee the future at that point, and I wasn't concerned at that point with the way it eventually turned out, the accusations of murder and everything. To me, it was just, we shouldn't tell them the whole thing right now because they're not going to believe it. I thought that they wouldn't even come and search for him if we told them about the UFO.
I know. I'm curious, Travis. I don't mean to leave you out, but this is the part where you're left out. Travis, when you hear all this now, about all that went on and what they thought and what they did, I know that after the whole thing, you felt, according to the movie, some resentment that Mike and company didn't stay there and try to get you, that they took off. When you hear all of this now from Mike and others, what goes through your mind? I mean, do you suddenly understand, or do you still feel any resentment?
Well, I felt less resentment than Mike might have believed for a while. I mean, back when this happened, Mike, every time he was interviewed, somebody would ask him, how could you go off and leave your friend like this, So they were really dumping this load of guilt on him, which really added to the sort of feelings that he was getting from my family, during the search and things.
Sure.
So it was kind of a blame situation that came about, and he kind of misread me as feeling that way. I don't really, I've always said, excuse me, that they, they did what they had to do.
Yeah.
But, in a similar situation, I can't see that it would have made any sense for anyone to have done any different than they did.
Jumping out to the end of the movie for a second, or the story, was it a year and a half that you guys really didn't see or talk to each other? Was that accurate?
Yeah, but, there were some other things involved there, too, but that was a part of it.
Mm-hmm. Did you really get together, the two of you, at the end, as they showed, go back out to the area?
We've been out there a few times.
Few times.
It's something I try to avoid.
All right, back now, Mike, to you. So this went on. There was 5 days of pure hell. I mean, Travis was gone for 5 days. What happened? You talked to the police the first time, I guess. They arrived, and you started telling them this story.
Yeah, it was a very harrowing 5 days. Believe me, it was the worst 5 days of my life, and it didn't get much better the next several days after that. But the sheriff, although he's always held a line publicly that he's skeptical.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was the only one of the 3 police officers that we met with that night that gave us a glimmer of hope. He partly believed, at least his mind was open to the possibility that what we were saying altogether was true.
Well, here's a guy who probably knew you. It's a pretty small town there, and he knew your characters, so...
Well, in reality, he had actually had a sighting himself not too long before that, a few months or years before that. And I guess from what I've heard, This was what made him at least open-minded to the possibility. He never just totally believed it, but it left him open enough to where he could take what we were saying serious to an extent.
Sure.
And it made it possible for them to go out and conduct a real search.
Which they did. I guess the movie showed helicopters out.
Oh, yeah. It was...
dog teams, the whole thing.
4 days worth of searching altogether.
How many men were involved in that?
Oh, gosh, 50 to 100. I don't know how many. I'd just be taking guesses. I don't think anybody knows that actual figure, but it eventually involved aircraft and helicopters and dogs and... you know, what's funny about the search, the one thing that I always bring up about it that the movie never showed, is that this search was so thorough that these guys would come back from a jog out and around with their hands full of debris that they had found in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
Everything from pop tops to beer cans to old oil bottles, you name it. Old pieces of logging equipment, you know, pieces of cable and whatnot. They literally slicked those woods up, and they'd come back and throw them in the back of the pickups, and they had piles of debris there that was gathered up. This is how thorough the search was. They were looking for every little speck or clue that they could find and managed to clean up the forest in the process. And I thought that was kind of funny. I always have since then thought that was kind of an interesting little part of the whole thing.
Well, it's interesting because they didn't find even a trace, did they?
Right. Not so much as a footprint.
Wow. So Travis was gone. In other words, he wasn't... there's no way we could imagine he was conked out, unconscious somewhere in the area. They'd have found him.
That's right. He would have been found. That's really the truth of it.
Well, all right. So they didn't find him. Were you up there during the entire time of the search?
Not every single hour of it, but almost.
All right. Meanwhile, back in town, at this point, how many people started thinking that you had... the wild one, they called him, I think, Alan Dallas,
right,
had dispatched Travis?
Well, there were people who thought that almost immediately. In fact, you know, in the movie, they have Travis's brother called Dan.
Right.
This is another composite character. In reality, there were two brothers. One's name is Dwayne, and the other's name is Don. And Dan was a name in between, combined the two brothers together. In reality, one brother was very supportive because he believed this, because he had an experience himself a few years before that where he had seen something fairly close range in the woods while he was hunting. The other brother was totally the opposite. He was hot mad. He was certain that foul play was involved, that his brother had been murdered, and there were some confrontations between him and us, the crew.
Well, I'm sorry to say it, but I have sympathy with that. I mean, if somebody, by the way, you two, I've seen a craft myself, so I have a lot of sympathy with the story you're telling, but if you came back with a story that, sorry, your brother's gone, may be dead, we saw him hit, he looked like he was dead, and it was aliens, you know, that story's not going to go down real easily.
Well, that's what I say. It's funny. The one brother took it that way. He believed that foul play was involved, while the other one, the one that knew me best, was completely supportive and believed everything that we said about it. So two brothers, full brothers, took it exactly opposite from each other.
Interesting.
Yeah, and that was kind of the whole mode of the town there. That summed up the entire reaction of the town. You had those that were almost completely supportive, and those that were just those who believed that we had murdered him, or the whole thing was a hoax or something. But it was very divided that way, almost down the middle. And that's what made for a real wild situation in the town there for several days. In fact, ever since, really.
Well, the fellow they called Alan Dallas, the bad apple or the bad seed or the drifter, was he as hot-headed as they depicted him to be in the movie?
Yeah.
He was?
Yeah.
So then there was some reason that, you know, particularly since Travis, did you really have that altercation with him?
Well, we nearly come to blows.
Yeah.
You know, it'd been kind of a situation that cropped up with not just me, but some other guys on the crew. Mike actually got in a fist fight with him, and you know.
So then, if you're a cop, if you're a lieutenant or the sheriff or whoever, and you're getting told this story, you're going to figure this Alan Dallas character might have done in Travis.
Right. You know, of course, he had an attitude about police too, of course.
Yeah, I'm sure he did. Well, then that's exactly the way they showed it. All right, there was a town meeting, Mike, wasn't there?
I imagine there were several.
But so you didn't really walk in on a town meeting the way they
No,
showed it?
that was again, that's the condensation of a much bigger story. But I had confrontations with a number of groups of individuals in the town there during that time, and they just chose to do it that way in the movie, which summed it all up, really.
I'm sure you were thinking Travis is never going to be found. I'm either going to be suspected of being or put on trial for murder or something like that.
Yeah, by the fourth day of the search, by the second day of the search, those accusations were beginning to arise, and by the end of the fourth day of the search,
they were hot and heavy.
It was full-blown, yeah.
All right, you two, hold on just a moment. We'll be right back. Back now to Mike Rogers and Travis Walton. Hi there, you two. We're back on.
Howdy.
All right. Now, here we are in town. They're beginning to suspect you strongly and the other guys of murder. Maybe Dallas, maybe all of you. They don't know, and they keep asking questions. At some point, according to the movie, they wanted you to take a lie detector test. Is that right?
That's right.
I imagine you thought pretty hard before you decided you'd take it.
Well, not really. We all knew that we were telling the truth. There was no doubt of that. And we certainly knew we didn't murder anybody. And they wanted us to go down to the county seat, which we did the following day. And they had it all set up for us. They had a lie detector man up from Phoenix, DPS, State Police Polygraph Operator. His name was Cy Gilson. And he looked like a mean guy.
Yeah, and you know, in the movie they made him look like Mr. Friendly, and everybody said he's the best. You'll be happy with this, and all the rest of it.
Today he sort of looks like Mr. Friendly. 20 years later. But back at the time, he looked pretty stern, and he acted real stern, and he was very intimidating. And there was a little conference that went on before these started early in the morning. It was a Monday morning. And he really had us intimidated pretty bad there, to the point to where after he went to set up the machines for the lie detector test, some of the guys, including myself, were feeling just a little bit uncertain. We were a little bit afraid that just by the way this guy acted and the intimidating manner in which he talked to us there, we were afraid maybe there was some government involvement. But it turned out that just wasn't true. It was just simply a feeling that we had that maybe this guy had been bought off, and we were going to fail these tests even though we were telling the truth.
Well, that's what I would have been worried about. That I would feel intimidated, probably like Cato Kalin in front of Marcia Clark or something, and my pulse would start racing, and the machine would say I'm lying.
Yeah.
that about right?
Well, no, we weren't worried. We knew we were telling the truth. I had no idea how polygraph machines worked. We just were basing our feelings entirely on his attitude. He was a very stern guy and very experienced, obviously, and it was just the way we felt because of the way he was acting. It made us feel very intimidated, and we felt like he was being too skeptical. He was acting extremely skeptical. And he'd pop me on the back of the arm with the back of his fingers, on my arm with the back of his fingers. And he'd say, "You're not lying, are you?" And pop me on the shoulder,
Boy. I'd be thinking he's trying to get the graft to spike.
Well, he had us intimidated. He definitely did. And
all right, well, so you all took it, and, the impression I got from the movie was
that one of them was inconclusive, but that the others had all passed.
Yeah, and the inconclusive one, of course, was Alan Dallas, but not because he wasn't telling the truth. Him being the person he was at the time and involved in a few more things than anybody actually knew at the time,
He might have been afraid they were going to ask him something he didn't want to answer.
Right. He was really on the spot, and he was concerned about being in that position, and I guess that something happened. Never have heard the complete explanation, but, these lie detector tests, it's not just like they ask you a series of questions once. They actually go through it at least 3 and maybe 4 and even 5 times. Each test actually involves several series of questioning. Each series of questioning is pretty much identical, but the whole thing altogether per person took 2 hours or more.
Oh boy!
So you really get grilled, and so you don't just go through the thing one time. What happened is Alan had gone through like 2 run-throughs of this thing. And somewhere along the line, and more or less in the middle of the testing series, something happened between him and the examiner where Alan got mad, thought that indeed this guy was bought off by the government for some reason, and that in combination, that feeling because of something that the examiner had said to him. And so he gets up and he pulls himself loose from the machine and he stomps out of the room and came back. And I think he was like the second one tested. There was one before him, and he had drawn the straw for second, and I'd drawn straws for like fifth or something like that. So at that point, I volunteered to go in ahead of my scheduled 5th place in line and went next after Alan because I figured that somebody needed to cool the situation down. I knew that we couldn't just all get up and walk out because of Alan's anger, because knowing Alan's personality, I figured that his reaction there was more his personality than anything. And we didn't want to have this thing end that way. So I went in next, and the examiner kind of explained a little bit of what happened with Alan, but he wouldn't tell me a whole lot. He just said, well, he thought I was the next one in, and only those guys knew who was in order because we'd drawn straws among us to go, in order. But once in there, he went ahead and convinced me by talking to me that he was on the up and up, that there was nothing, going on here. He hadn't been bought off. He was just doing his job.
He was going to give you an honest test.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the way he presented this to me. So I went ahead and was tested then. And the whole thing, went normally, and then the next couple of guys came in, and everybody got done. It didn't finish until late that night because it took so long for each one.
Ooh, that's a big process.
Yeah, the examiner really went through a day there.
And then they kind of at the end of that day, they said, well, everybody seemed to be telling the truth, and there was one inconclusive, would you say, is Dallas. I want to clear something up about Dallas before we go on. Travis, Dallas had a cut on his hand?
No.
No?
Well, he may have cut himself at work, but it had nothing to do with any fight that we had.
So that was movie stuff.
Yeah.
They were trying to imply that there had been some fight between you and Dallas where he might have gotten that cut.
Yeah, there were theories, about chainsaw murder and that sort of thing. And, the movie went out of their way to sort of add suspicion or questionable circumstances that weren't really there.
Well, they need a story.
There was no National Enquirer in the truck that day,
Oh, really? No. Now, see, had I been you, Travis, or you, Mike, I'd have been really angry about that because the clear implication was you guys were sitting around the truck, yucking it up, drinking some beer or something, and read this story and decided to perpetrate a hoax. That was the clear implication, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, that was the reason they threw that in there, was to add suspicion. And the movie, ignored a lot of, corroborating evidence and threw in a lot of suspicious things that never really even happened.
Yeah, but that one would have made me angry. Would have made me angry. Because it cast doubt on all of your characters.
Well, there is one thing Travis passed over there between him and Alan. Alan did nearly hit him with a tree that day.
Yeah.
Oh, that was true then?
Yeah.
I'll be darned. Did you think, Travis, he was out to get you, one way or the other? or pick a fight with you or something?
Well, yeah, and I think that that may have contributed to his anxiety in the testing, because the thrust of the question was, do you harbor ill will towards this guy? And so, even though he knew he didn't kill me, he was in a situation where, if he denied ill will,
sure,
he'd be lying on the test, and that would show up. And if he admitted it, then they would just fuel the suspicions that were directed towards him, and so I think that's kind of added to his anxiety there.
All right. I'd kind of like to, Travis, try and ask you about what you can remember. The movie, Travis, showed, of course, very specific things. The movie showed that you were in a cocoon-like area, almost like a beehive or something. Did they take this from your description, Travis?
No, they just, as a matter of fact, the script that I was given didn't have that sequence aboard the craft in it at all. It was totally missing from the copy I was.
Yeah, I understand. Travis, what do you remember?
Well, there were certain things that occurred in the movie that, sort of symbolized things that I underwent, left you with the same kinds of emotions. But as far as the actual events were concerned, none of it was really there, except in symbolic form. There was no cocoon. There was no... The ship itself looked very clean and hospital-like. It was not all trashy and organic.
That's very different. Very, very different. So, you lost consciousness, obviously, when the light hit you.
Right.
And what is the first thing that you can remember after that?
Just pain. I was just coming to, and I was in a lot of pain. And I didn't come to very quickly. It was kind of like in and out for a long time. And I was kind of half conscious and half wondering what had happened to me. I could hear movement around me, and I even remembered approaching the craft, but I figured that I'd been injured somehow and that I'd been taken to a hospital.
Were you lying on a table or in a bed?
Yeah, I was lying on my back, and there was a light above me. And
I know what you mean. You're kind of half conscious, in and out, in and out. I've been there myself. So you slowly came toward consciousness.
Yeah. And there was this thing lying across my chest. It was kind of like holding me down. I wasn't moving too much because it hurt, and I felt really, really weak. But when I finally got where I could focus my eyes and made out these faces that were standing over me, they were not doctors. This was something that just totally blew me away, is the appearance of these creatures.
Can you describe them? Can you remember generally how they looked?
Well, they were humanoid. They were just large eyes, kind of large cranium, no hair.
No hair.
It was just such a shock. It was just, combined with the pain and not being able to breathe, it just flipped out.
Were they just standing around you, or were they communicating among themselves? Can you recall?
Well, they were, kind of standing over me. At least one of them was closer than the others. And when I saw them, I just involuntarily sort of lashed out at them. And I was just so weak that it was just more of a push than anything. And my arm hit him in the chest and knocked him back into the other one.
Did he feel, I've never talked to anybody who's hit an alien before. Did he go over easily?
Yeah, it was much lighter than I expected.
Huh.
Even though I was so weak, he just fell back quite easily.
But he was solid substance.
Yeah, sort of soft and spongy, but, it was as real as anything.
And he got pushed backwards.
Yeah. I was in a lot of pain and having a lot of trouble moving, but I managed to get to my feet and back away from them. Their thing fell off of me.
What fell off?
Well, this instrument, I don't know what it was. I don't know what they were doing to me, but whatever was going on, I was putting a stop to it.
Did you have a feeling that they didn't expect you to wake up?
Well, looking back now, but at the time I was just total confusion. I was in such pain. I wasn't really fully conscious, but at the same time I was, just hysterical. So it was just kind of this animalistic sort of instinctive fear.
Yeah, I hear you. I would be too.
Just screaming and lashing out at them. And they stopped when I did that and turned and left the room. Simultaneously, they all just turned and went out the door.
Huh.
Oh, there was only one way out of there.
It was, can you describe the room? You said it was like a hospital. Was it really hygienic, white color, or?
No, it was metallic, but it was just very bare and it was featureless.
Incidentally, did you have any sense of movement, Travis? Presumably you were in a moving craft. Could you?
No, I felt no movement.
No movement.
I didn't hear any sounds, like mechanical sounds in the distance either. And, I wasn't in the most tuned-in state, but, I just don't have any memory of anything like that.
All right, let me try this. From the time that you were hit with the light until you began to raise from unconsciousness, how much time do you guess passed?
That's something that really bothered me because, the time that I recall aboard the craft, even though I was hysterical, and it kind of affects your perception of time.
Sure.
Couldn't have been more than an hour or so at the most, probably less than an hour. And in this span of time, even though I was missing for 5 days and 6 hours, I don't know where in there this conscious period occurred. Whether this coming to was soon after I was taken on board or later on.
Well, how much, if you had to guess, how much total conscious time can you remember spending in that craft? There were 5 days in real time that went by. To you, how much time went by?
Well, it just seemed like a matter of minutes, in retrospect, at the time, he's just like, forever, I got to get out of here, It was just total panic. But, it was just less than an hour, probably.
So it felt like less than an hour in the craft total? Wow. They left.
I don't know whether there was some sort of time dilation or contraction effect going on here, or if I was just unconscious the rest of the time.
Maybe it was your last. It was the last hour before you were actually returned. Maybe you were unconscious for a very long time. I know that in the movie they examined you when you got back, and they said you had not eaten or had anything to drink in 5 days. Is that accurate?
Well, the medical tests are kind of, I don't know. I need to look into this perhaps, but they say that if you haven't eaten for 5 days, that you'll have certain chemicals in your urine that will,
it'll begin to show up in your urine. Yeah. No,
but, I don't know. Is that true of an unconscious person? I don't know.
I would imagine so. In other words, the body's processes, conscious or unconscious, continue, and if you have not had nourishment in that time, then I would imagine that would be so. So you spent an hour of conscious time in that craft. Did they ever come back into that room?
No. I was afraid they would, though. I was really terrified of that. And they'd gone out this hallway down to the right, so I just took off to the left, just running.
Oh, wait a minute. There was an open door?
Yeah.
Oh, excellent. I figured they'd have locked you in, but they didn't.
No.
So you just walked out?
Yeah.
And they went to the right, so you went to the left. Yeah, that'd be my choice, too.
Yeah. Well, I tried to find a way out, and push some buttons and controls and things, trying to open a door. Crazy, desperate sort of things, but this was interrupted by a person, a being coming in who I took to be human. I figured I was saved, and when he motioned for me to go with him, I went, thinking that he was saving me, rescuing me. And he led me out of this craft.
Out of a craft?
Yeah. And at this point, it was parked inside of what appeared to be, well, it was either a building or part of a larger craft.
Wow.
And again, I felt no movement, you know. Getting outside of there, the air was much more breathable. The light was brighter.
So you were either walking out, you walked out of this one craft either into like a hangar or a building or another craft. Who could tell, I guess, huh?
No.
But it was completely enclosed?
Yeah, there was like panels where light was coming through, you know, whether these were artificial lights or actual sort of translucent windows, I don't know. But I didn't get too much a chance to look around. He hurried me out of this large room, down a hallway to another room where there were some more people like him.
All right, that's where we're going to have to break it off. You two take it easy for a few moments. It's a great cliffhanger point anyway, and we'll be right back. It absolutely is. I make no guarantees about getting to the telephone. We're going to let this story unwind as it needs to unwind. And in just a moment, we will return to our guests. Travis Walton, the abductee, Mike Rogers, the crew chief in the group in which Mr. Walton was present when he was abducted. And we'll get back to them in just a moment. All right, back now to my guests, Mike Rogers and Travis Walton. Hi there, you two. We're back again. Travis, I just got a fax from somebody in Washington, and they asked the following. Though there are many questions I'd like to ask both Mike and Travis, my main question is why the human-type being, the one who showed Travis the star map, was never shown in the movie?
Yeah, that's very curious, you know, and I've always been really amazed at how many times I've been interviewed over the years in which this being is just kind of like excluded from the report. It's, you know, it came off that way from the very start. And to me, you know, the amazing similarity to human is, this could be the key to the whole thing. And, you know, for people to just ignore this. Maybe, Travis, the movie makers thought, gee, how pedestrian or how common to show somebody who looks like a human, and they wanted to just show aliens or alien-looking beings. Yeah.
Could that be?
Yeah, you know, I understand the reason for it, but, you know, in a commercial sense, but
sure.
For me, you know, trying to figure out what's going on here, this seems to be a key element.
Did this human type, was he as human as anybody else, or were there any differences?
Well, there was something odd about his eyes that I never was able to really pin down, you know.
All right. Did he say anything to you?
No. I was really trying, but I thought that maybe it was because of this helmet that he was wearing.
A helmet?
That he couldn't speak to me or hear what I was saying or something. But when he took me to these other people and they didn't have helmets, I started over with the same, you know, torrent of questions, and they didn't answer me either. They just started to
well,
put me on this table.
Where were these? Okay, he took you out of the one craft into what was another craft or a building, and to some other beings?
Yeah, human-looking beings.
Human-looking beings.
And they just, you know, put me down, forced me down on this table. I started to try to fight back at that point, and I was still too weak, and there were too many of them. And they put a mask over my face, and I went out real quick.
In the movie, of course, it showed this really weird membrane-like stuff being put over you, but it was a mask, and you went out. It was anesthesia of some kind.
Yeah. Apparently. I just went out real quick, and the next thing I knew, I was waking up on the roadway outside the town nearest where this happened.
Okay, that's something they never showed. They showed you at a sort of a gas station store type affair, all curled up and naked. and wet, I might add. So
it wasn't raining, and I was dressed. But, you know, I looked around after the craft left and you know, figured out where I was.
What kind of condition were you in?
I was still kind of weak, and still a little bit of pain.
Cuts, bruises?
No, not like that. I was just kind of psychologically blown out, you know. I was just really...
Probably glad to be back on Earth.
Oh, yeah. You know, I just ran just as hard as I could down across the bridge. There was some lights on in this one building.
Did you? Let me ask you, Travis. Did you know where you were when you regained consciousness and looked around? Did you recognize where you were?
Well, at first I didn't, but I figured out the stretch of road and the lights down there where I must be, and then ran down into the town. The closer I got, of course, the more I knew that it was the town.
Sure.
And you know, to make a long story short, I finally was able to telephone my family, and they came and got me.
In the movie, of course, you telephoned Mike.
Right.
But you did not.
It was another brother-in-law.
It was another brother-in-law. And he came and got you. In the movie, it showed your condition was terrible. I mean, you were all curled up and screaming and not very with it. Is that right or half right or all wrong?
Yeah, that was basically how it was. I was dressed, though. I thought it was the same night. I didn't realize how much time had gone by.
Wow.
And then on the way back, they said something that kind of let me know, you know, that feel your face, you know, I had this 5-day growth of beard, and look at your watch, and you know, so much time had gone by. It was quite a shock to me. I just kind of broke down at that point.
As you look back on this now, Travis, do you think you were taken just because you were crazy enough to walk out there under that craft? Do you think they decided you were a target of opportunity? Do you have any idea what they wanted with you?
Well, it's all just speculation, you know, but a lot of people, you know, try to suggest that they were waiting for us there, but, you know, I think that it was just kind of an accident. At least I prefer to believe that this was just a bolt from the blue, so to speak, no pun intended. And that, you know, it's just a one-of-a-kind sort of incident that I can just put behind me and get on with my life.
Well, I know that you both really love reporters, don't you?
Well, there's been a few good ones, but, you know, we've had a lot of trouble with people getting it right, either intentionally or unintentionally.
Well, I know I'm interviewed frequently myself by the press, and I worry most about that when you talk to a newspaper reporter, inevitably. I mean, it's like they have to get it wrong or something.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, it's not, sometimes it's not like anything malicious. It's just basic facts, you know, people's names, dates, places. It's just never right.
Well, that's why radio's better.
It really gave me a lot of insight into looking at the news. You know, when I see things going on, I always wonder what really happened there.
I understand. But a few of them have had it right.
Yeah. Here and there.
If you were to guess, and I know it is just speculation, but again, you think it was just all sort of happenstance. Do you have any guesses about what they did with you for that time?
Well, it for a long time it was just something that, you know, there was just it was like there was just a fragment of things, and you didn't really have enough information to go on. And it was just something that would have just driven me nuts, you know, to try to piece something together from what I remembered at the time. So I just sort of put it out of my mind and tried to get on with my life and live as normal a life as possible and not just constantly delve into it.
You didn't end up being consumed by it, wanting to go to a hypnotherapist and get regressed and all the rest of that sort of stuff?
You know, I was invited to go to a lot of gatherings and you know, approached by people who had similar sightings. And to the greatest extent, I've avoided that, you know, and just tried to get on with my life. There's a lot to adjust to and a lot to cope with. So.
Yeah. When you go through something like this tonight with Mike, and you sort of go back through the whole story again, is it like reliving it?
Yeah, you know, it never fails to just get me all rinsed up inside. And for a long time, I didn't talk about it hardly at all. But when the movie happened, you know, I was kind of in a situation where, you know, I was being pressed for large numbers of interviews all of a sudden. And I was afraid that it was going to just make me so sick of the subject I never could speak of it again. It would just build up to a point where it'd get worse and worse. But actually, it's kind of had a desensitizing effect on me.
Yeah.
Even though, you know, it's still there to a certain extent, I do, you know, feel a little easier to talk about it than I used to.
All right. Right at the end of the movie, Mike, this is for you. They rolled something that said, and I think this audience ought to know, that another lie detector test was administered, and every single one of you passed.
Well, there were only 3 of us that took this new series of tests. What happened was there was a fellow by the name of Jerry Black who caught wind of the movie being made just as the movie was beginning to be filmed back in the summer of 1992. And Jerry Black approached the screenwriter Tracy Torme on the phone at first, and he was trying to get Tracy to cease the movie, to top it off, because he said that, you know, this whole thing is a hoax. Jerry Black was a personal friend of some major skeptics, although he himself is a believer in the UFO phenomena. And that was his first initial approach to this thing. And then after launching eventually a whole new investigation into the thing, because Jerry Black is a UFO investigator, he came to the point to where he thought, well, what we need now is some new tests, because the first tests, everybody took them, everybody passed, even Alan Dallas, of course, according to the police report that was finally came through after all these years, showed that Alan passed part of the test that he took.
Mm-hmm.
But what Jerry Black wanted for his own personal conclusion to his investigation was a new lie detector test for me and Travis and Alan Dallas, who he considered to be the lead characters of the thing. Alan, because Alan was not only a lead character, but was the one who had an inconclusive test in 1975. So in February, first week of February in 1993, just a month and a half before the movie came out, we all submitted to a new lie detector test. And Jerry Black chose the same state police polygraph examiner, Cyrus Gilson, who then had, 20 years experience, something like that. He had been in it all these years since then, and he was a very experienced examiner at the time in 1975. And by this time, Cy Gilson had worked to develop equipment and machinery that is unbeatable and is computer-assisted in analysis. And Jerry Black was very convinced that the last niche in this investigation was these new polygraph tests. It would, just polish it off. So we finally, reluctantly, but finally agreed to these tests and took them. And Travis, as a matter of fact, took 2. He was in there all day long taking lie detector tests, 2 separate tests with 2 separate lines of questions.
I was about to ask that. Travis took one himself.
Yeah, well, Travis took one years ago back, and when right after this happened, and passed it. But this was first time that Travis had taken a test with the state police polygraph examiner.
And the new whiz-bang technology.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we all 3 passed the test to the highest degree of possible.
And then what did your skeptic friends say?
They haven't said anything about it to this day since. The major skeptics have never come forward in the last 2 years to say anything about these new tests.
Well, it is widely regarded as one of the best documented cases ever. There's no question about it. Let me go back just for a second to that moment when Travis phoned home, so to speak. And how did you get the news, Mike? I mean, it must have been pretty important to you. Here you are missing a friend, probably accused in the minds of many of having committed murder, and all of a sudden, bang, Travis is back.
It didn't happen like that with me. I wasn't the brother-in-law he called. Again, like I said earlier, they kind of used my character throughout the movie for a lot of things. Even though I was present throughout this entire time and a kind of a lead character in the thing, they gave me the role of doing certain things like calling the police initially, and then again being the one that Travis called from telephone booth, you know.
Right. No, I understand that you were not the one called, but surely somebody at some point picked up the phone, called you, and said, guess
right.
what?
Well, see, this is where I kind of got left out. Everything that happened when Travis's brother and brother-in-law went out and picked him up, he was actually had already been transported down to Phoenix and was beginning this process of being analyzed by doctors and hypnotists and psychotherapists and every expert that they could throw at him. I didn't even know that he was returned for almost a whole day after he had actually been returned. Nobody had even told me for a long time. Of course, when I did learn of it, you know, I was elated. I was thrilled. I was relieved. You know, and
well, you see, what happened at the time was my brother had been watching what had been happening to my mother, and the way the police and the media were just unmerciful. You know, she'd had to be sedated, and the kinds of things that were being done to the family and in the community and everything. And they just felt that, you know, he said, oh, that mob is not going to get hold of this guy.
How were they treating it in the media, Travis? Well, you must have read all the clippings now. Were they making a big joke out of it? Was it a murder mystery in the media? What were they doing?
Well, you know, it was one theory after another, you know. Of course, right at first it was just a murder, and then it was a drug hallucination, and then it was a transitory psychosis. It was just one thing after another, you know.
I'm sure they tested you for drugs.
Yeah, the medical tests revealed no trace of any drug in my system. All my psychiatric tests were perfectly normal scores. But, you know, it was no end to the sorts of accusations, however baseless. And, you know, it turned into, you know, a long series of attempts to try to set the record straight.
So they got you in Phoenix. They put you in the hospital in Phoenix, huh?
Yeah.
And came at you with what, a battery of tests and doctors to come in and have little conversations with you?
Yeah, that sort of thing. EKG, EEG, you know, the whole shooting match.
Did they find anything wrong, anything, for example, that physically could have caused you to go into a coma-like state, say, for 5 days?
No, nothing.
Nothing like it. Wow. So what did you do, Mike? You heard he was back. You heard he was in Phoenix. And after you sighed a big sigh of relief, I'm sure, because you were accused and your friend's back, what did you do?
well, obviously I wanted to get down there and see him, you know, but I wasn't able to do that for another couple of days more. It was like maybe 3 days before I was actually able to see him for the first time. And this is one area where the movie Fire in the Sky actually got real simple. They showed him in the movie being put in a local hospital and treated very normally. And the hospital was quiet, and I snuck in there during the night and got past the nurse to talk to my buddy for the first time, you know.
That's right.
And in reality, this thing was a media circus. There were a whole team of doctors and people there, and they had him bound up for several days before I was able to ever get a first glance at him.
Couldn't hardly go anywhere. Walking across the parking lot of the hospital, hey, there he is, there he is. That kind of stuff.
No.
It was just crazy, you know, it was crazy stuff. They put me in the hospital under an assumed name.
Oh, so
that kind of delayed the media.
But at some point they saw you walking.
Yeah.
How were you going to handle it in the media, Travis? I'm sure you thought about that. You know, what am I going to say to him?
Well, you know, I was just a country boy. I wasn't really very well versed in these kinds of things. I didn't know how to handle it, you know, and I guess I was a sitting duck at times.
So did you talk to him, or did you tell him to get lost most of the time?
Yeah, I just wasn't up to talking for quite a while, you know.
You still don't like talking about it, do you?
No, it's still kind of upsetting, but I feel that it's important to set the record straight.
Maybe it's important for you too, because every time you go through this, maybe a little, like another piece of it, or the pressure of it falls away from you a little bit.
Yeah, just a little.
All right, you two, stay put. We'll be right back to you. My guests, Mike Rogers and Travis Walton. The story of Fire in the Sky. Only this is the real thing, and we'll be right back. For some craft to come back and for you to then understand exactly what happened and what it means in a larger scheme of things?
Yeah, in other words, we would like for the mystery to be solved. By somehow, maybe not being the person that gets out there and solves it, but, it would be nice for it to be known. If it's going to remain a mystery, I'd just as soon get on with my life.
Yeah, I can understand that, wanting to get on with your life. Travis, of your whole experience, of what you remember of it, what was the worst and most terrifying moment for you? I mean, when you flash back on it and you think of the worst, what was that worst moment?
Suddenly seeing them and the way their eyes just seem to look into me.
Does that haunt you still?
Yeah, it does, and that's been, something that's been in the center of every feeling, not exactly flashback, but when I think back, that's the part of it that just is the most intense.
Other than when some a crazy person from the media like me comes along and talks to you, is it getting now to the point where you think about it less and less, or does it still come to you regularly?
Well, I work at not letting it. When somebody brings it up, I never bring it up, and I just never bring up the topic of conversation.
I can't blame you. Are the two of you now close? Would you both say you're close since it, or what?
Well, we were close, prior to the incident, and we had a falling out in the interim, but we've kind of patched things up, and we're getting, to where we more like it was before.
Were you really close friends?
Yeah.
Best friends?
Mm-hmm.
What about the others? Do you stay in touch with them? Have they fallen away?
They've just fallen away. Most of them, are in other states, and we rarely talk to them since this happened.
Mike, for you, in the movie, it showed your wife at the time kind of in a crisis and not believing you, and ending up crying and not believing you. Is that about the way it happened?
Well, she did believe me. That was, I think they just did that for some sort of personal drama there going on, and kind of an explanation for why there was eventually a split up between us. But as far as her wondering what to believe, that wasn't just her. That was all of our relatives, Travis's family, my family. I think everybody struggled in that way. And my wife at first didn't know what to think. And in the movie, they didn't actually show her saying that she didn't believe me. They just
that's right.
They believed that by the way they did it.
Yeah, they showed her crying as though she couldn't say yes, I believe you,
right.
Or something
But
like that.
she did have an awful hard time with the community, and she was in a personal crisis as a result of that, and that was instrumental in our divorce.
Well, I'm sorry. Are you still in touch with your children?
Oh, yeah. As a matter of fact, eventually I got real close to my family. I've been close to my children, especially all along. But it's not like my family was taken away from me. We've always lived in the same town.
What do you both think now, Mike? Do you think your family completely buys the story?
I don't know one that doesn't.
Travis, same deal? You think your family buys the story?
Yeah.
Well, you're both...
You know, and a lot of people here in the town, you know, over the years, it's grown more and more in favor of it because as one theory after another just sort of fades away, I mean, the evidence against it comes forward. You know, people are forced to face the facts, and you know, belief has grown.
Well, I imagine it would, particularly with the latest lie detector tests.
Yeah. The movie did a lot for it, too. And it's partly a personal thing. You know, a lot of people that I meet very often remark that, you know, they're skeptical, but after meeting me, it changes them. And, you know, all of the actors in the movie, you know, said the same sorts of things.
Well, it seems to me as though the real story, as you two have told it tonight, is to me a lot more convincing and a lot less trying to throw doubt in the mind of the audience than the movie. I mean, they threw doubt at several places with the tabloid newspaper that never happened, all the rest of it. When you guys sat down and you watched that movie for the first time, how would you describe your feelings after seeing it? Were you amused, upset, angry?
Well, you know, it kind of became apparent to me in a sort of a gradual way that how these departures were being made, and I fought against that as best I could, and successfully to a certain extent. You should have seen what they wanted to do.
In other words, as the movie was being produced, you had some input?
Yeah, but, you know, no power to veto things. I was just able to get them to not do certain things.
Every now and then say, hey, you guys are nuts. This didn't happen.
Yeah, and I kind of wore out my welcome, I guess, but, you know, I kind of faced the fact that, you know, they had commercial considerations, and they were just going to do what they were going to do, and so when it came time to see the movie, I'd kind of come to terms, at least in part, with some of it. So it was kind of like an emotional reliving in a way that was pretty intense.
All right, just probably just one more question. I had my own sighting, you two, and I thought really long and really hard before I admitted it publicly because of the job I do.
Mm-hmm.
And I might not do it again. And I guess my question for you, if it had not been for Travis being abducted and you all had just seen this craft and instead of losing Travis, you'd taken off back to town in the truck, would you have told this story, or would you have kept your mouths shut?
I would have kept my mouth shut. If there was any way that I could have, you know, had it totally under myself to decide whether or not to tell what happened and could see into the future how things would happen and how I would be treated, there's no way I'd say a word about it. I wouldn't recommend that. You know, it's not worth the grief that the world is going to give you.
And it has been a lot of grief, hasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Well, look, I want to thank you both for telling the story as it really was. And as I promised, I will get both of you copies of this program.
Oh, thank you.
All right? Thank you both for being on the air with us.
Thank you, Art.
Take care. Good night. Travis Walton and Mike Rogers. And I hope that you all enjoyed this. I ended up not taking any calls because I wanted to get the story out. I thought it was an important story. These two strike me as very, very honest individuals. And I was very impressed by the story. So I'd like to take a second out to tell you that if you would like a copy of this program, and I can imagine that you would, it's probably one of the best renditions of the Travis Walton abduction. You can get it by calling 24 hours a day, beginning right now, 1-800-917-4278. Once again, 1-800-917-4278.